All right, good Friday morning.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. It is a feel-good Friday. It is a summer Friday. This is the first Friday of the summer.
Oh, my God.
That's what people on the streets are saying this morning as they're sprinting out jogging on Leavenworth. They were saying, welcome to the first summer Friday. And I said, I gave them a honk.
Is that what you said?
I said, sup? No. But I'm convinced that there's this guy that runs every morning, and I see him, and he looks like he is in fantastic shape.
Good for him.
He doesn't just run. And Jimmy, you're kind of a runner.
Yeah, I used to do a lot better before he moved.
So, I mean, we always. I feel like I should introduce myself to this guy because I always see him.
You make eye contact with him?
No, because I don't want to. He's running and he's got the pods in, and I don't want to honk and scare him and something bad happens. But he's flying. I'm going probably speed limit. He's keeping up with me.
So
he's doing sprint workouts on the sidewalk on Leavenworth. And I'm like, good on you.
Is he
it's 6 in the morning.
Is that his pace or is that his?
I have no idea. I've just noticed it this week that he is sprinting.
I like to think he's going to go eat a big breakfast.
Younger man in his 20s, in his 30s?
No, he seems to be. You know what? If I had to, if I pulled over and I said, hey.
You should pull over.
I
need
one
of
to
us.
know. No, I'm not pulling over. I'm not creepy like yourself.
I'm not creepy. I just drive to work. I don't do the whole you are incredibly attentive. You're looking at people. You're trying to talk to people who are driving trucks.
Never made a stranger.
Again, content.
Never met a stranger. I would imagine that this guy is in the medical field. He might be a doctor. He keeps himself in really great shape.
Yeah.
Has a nice home. Probably at 62nd and Pacific. No, I'm going to say probably 58th and Pacific. A nice 2-story. He's got 3 kids. He's got a wife that he met in school. He
12 years.
He went to prep. She went to Duchenne. They met. He's in great shape. He's a doctor.
I love this game.
Are you telling somebody else's story? Is that?
That's what the guy. If I had to
guess
profile.
If I had a profile this person, this is what it would be. So
you would you would profile him an incredibly successful and fruitful life. That's very nice of you.
Yeah, I mean, he looks. He's in great shape. He's got that look. He's got a little bit of gray that is starting. So I imagine he's very, very successful, and he loves to run fast.
Good for him.
I don't, and good for him because
I don't.
We will not be running. We will not be running with him.
Only when cops were chasing you in high school.
High school,
MIP. You don't want to get one.
Oh, you got yours in high school?
Yeah, senior year. Worth it.
I never.
I got mine in Lincoln, and got the letter. Got the frightening thing because they went after the person that was driving the car.
Oh.
So we were at 19th and G, and we were all 19 and had multiple beers in the vehicle. We were actually not drinking, though. So we had no open containers.
You just had a lot of beers in the vehicle.
But
how'd that get there?
The guy, one of my former roommates, Jeff, was driving Pride of Bellevue. I don't think Jeff lives in Bellevue anymore. He was driving and he kind of went through a stop sign. Now, none of us were inebriated.
Sure.
But kind of went through a stop sign, and a cop kind of then saw us and turned on his lights. So what did Jeff do?
He
hit the gas. Okay.
Go!
And we're going for people that live in Lincoln or,
sure.
We've all been in Lincoln. That area, there's some alleys. So all of a sudden, business administration major, all of a sudden turns into Richard Petty. And we're driving down some back alleys and the cops are after us. And
them Lincoln boys.
Did you tell Smokey, hey, slow down?
No, we told him to pull over and he did. And let's just say that the Lincoln Police Department does not take kind to a little mini 2-block police chase.
Okay. 2 blocks, that's nothing.
Not to them,
but
though.
he went from 0 to 60, and I'm like, okay, this is not the death wish I want today.
Yeah.
So we got pulled over, and
careful, there's beer in here.
Yeah, we all got mipped, but because they wanted to press extra charges against Jeff,
sure,
they dropped all of the MIPs.
Hey, all right.
Yeah. So that's
Shout out Jeff.
That was my first introduction to Gary Lacey, who I think has passed, the former Lancaster County attorney who became famous because he went after the Nebraska football program. And I'm like, oh, so somewhere in a box somewhere in my past life, that letter of dropping the charges, I still have. Because I would show it to people. I'd be like, hey, look what happened to me.
I beat the case.
Yeah, so you never got MIP?
Beat the man.
No, unfortunately. I like how this turned into Goodfellas. We're talking about our first pinch, I have not. I've been very close. I got pulled over in the back of a car that did have alcohol in it, where the alcohol was open.
By the way, advocating for none of this.
None of this, absolutely not.
We do this so you don't have to.
I was at a house party.
This is funny
college
because
party, so I was not in a car. So
go
to one of those.
The guy that I'm talking about listens to the show.
Oh, good morning.
Religiously.
What's his name?
I don't know if I want.
Is he going to the B-list comedian tonight with you?
No, he's not. I think I will see him this weekend though. He's a good friend of mine. Right. He was driving the car and he does not drink. Okay, he is not a drinker, and so he was the best because he was just like,
people
guys,
are good too.
No big deal. I'll be our designated driver. Almost always, he came through. Perfect. He's driving. He tries pulling into a parking spot. Finds out, I can't pull into that parking spot. So then he jerks out of it. Right, cop right behind us puts the lights on. The cop claims, you didn't have your tail lights on. Right, so he goes up to the car. He sees all the guys, in the car. He asks my friend, he goes, have you been drinking tonight? And he goes, no, haven't been drinking tonight. He goes,
no, sir, I found the Lord.
He goes, the cop goes, what have you guys been doing tonight? What have you been? He goes, we've just been having fun tonight.
Oh, that's a great response.
You know what? Yeah. You guys are going to get off easy when you say
he goes, okay, you want to step out the vehicle for me?
Dang.
And so we are like freaking out.
We were discussing the book of Exodus.
If he peered into the car, he was easily going to see an open Miller Lite can or like something in the back of the car that would have gotten us in trouble. He brings my friend and he puts him in the passenger seat of the cop car.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then then he clearly realized that he was sober. He lets him go back into the car, drive off. We parked. We were all good. We barely got away.
Like, can we at least do a ride along?
You're not advocating
it. Zero.
All right.
Zero.
But it taught me a lesson.
Don't speed when the lights go on. Pull over.
Get into high-speed chases.
That just sounded really good. I don't know what kind of a lesson it taught me. All right, welcome in, everybody. Today is the beginning. I mean, people say, hey, did you learn from it? You know what? When I was back in 19, I was dumb and stupid. Okay, I was fat, drunk, and stupid. Okay, and Lincoln just happened to be the place that I lived in. Okay, and
ditto.
I mean, I tell people I had a really, really bad drinking problem when I was between 20 and 21, and I probably drank more in those 2 years than I did in the next 15.
I always said I didn't have a problem. It was everyone else that had a problem with
Well, you're like, hey, it's a fat kid. He makes everybody laugh and he drinks. So yeah, let's have let's have 19 beers and we'll keep track while you're doing it. And I thought, this is great.
I came home
some low times.
when I
a lot of winning
when I came home from college.
3 national championships, man.
When I came home from college, I quickly realized like, this isn't normal.
Yeah.
Like, okay, the real world, a Wednesday really isn't the day to like get down and dirty.
And here you are.
Here I
2
am.
weeks from today is a day to get down and boogie because the College World Series begins 2 weeks from today. So the road to, what are we calling it? From Creighton's standpoint, Omaha. They both begin. Creighton and Nebraska both begin the road to Omaha, which is 2 weeks from today. And here's the thing. You probably are tuning in this morning, and then you want the three of us just to break down all 64 teams and what the path looks like and why LSU and Arkansas are the betting favorites to get here.
Ooh, our Tigers.
Back in the day,
yeah,
that was, let's get deep. Here's what it is now. And I think I speak for the masses. I just want fun fan bases to get here. I just want people that like to party. I just want people that come here and they bring a lot of fans and they spend a lot of money and they enjoy our town and they don't rape and pillage our town, but they celebrate our town and they have fun here. And if Cinderella makes it, it's okay to have one.
Yes.
But I don't want Stony Brook, Kent State, Aaron Judge, Fresno State. You know what?
We want LSU. We want Arkansas.
It's okay to stay home once in a while.
We want Tony V.
And even like Virginia.
Yeah.
And Virginia doesn't make the tournament. Brian O'Connor is probably leaving, going to Mississippi State. Interesting move. He'll kill it there. The wine and cheese crowd doesn't do well in Omaha. We're not a wine and cheese crowd, except for the wintertime in the building that you're going to see when you look out straight past center field. We are a meat and potatoes, blue-collar town when it comes to the College World Series. We like to rub elbows with the strangers. We like to wrap our arms around them. We like to give them a big hug. We tell them about the shots and all the booze we drink and all the partying we have.
And all the barbecue to eat.
But that's all I want.
Swamp
I have, other than the two locals, which would be a great story, we're not a college baseball town. We are not.
We're a pizza town.
I know you just got all excited because you're a sports guy.
No,
you're a sports guy, and you're like,
whoa,
we're a college baseball
anything.
town.
I didn't say anything.
We're not a college baseball town. We're an event town. We like to party.
What do you call it? Our county fair? Or?
It is Omaha State Fair. We go one time.
Best way of putting it.
Okay, we go one time. Usually we take Dad on Father's Day, so we go, and then we're like, I am not messing with that crowd down there. But you know what? Spend money and pack the America Inn. Right there by West Roads, and give it a 4.5 star on a 5-star. Yeah, hey,
big week for the American.
Every day I pass by it. Yeah,
you gotta go read the Yelp reviews, and you're like, I'm from Omaha.
That
what y'all talking about? So good luck to all of the teams that are on the road to join us right here in our beautiful community.
But in
2 weeks from today,
in particularly the SEC teams.
We want
those are our teams.
Anybody that parties. And we have not found an SEC school that does not get down and boogie. Like, I'll take LSU coming back. I'll take the Omahogs coming back. I'll even take North Carolina because you know why? My good friend Eric Church would be here.
I haven't been to an Eric Church concert.
Well, how are they going to get here? Nebraska beats concert.
Well, that's a good point.
It's a great point. But what are they going to do when Oklahoma beats them too?
Who has a better chance to knock off North Carolina, who, by the way, really good.
Very good team.
I think we kind of overlooked North Carolina.
I think
North Carolina's a pretty good baseball team.
I was watching on ESPN with Kyle Peterson yesterday, or it was on ESPN too. They did a great hour breakdown of kind of just the entire tournament, and the first half hour was like a really good hey, these are the teams you need to watch out for. They did spotlights and on different coaches and different players and whatnot, and then the back half was just this is why Omaha is so great.
Yeah. 75th College World Series.
Awesome. I was a big fan of it. I like North Carolina. I'll say this though. I think that is the Nebraska's regional is going to be incredibly competitive because Nebraska's hot. And if
don't let the Skurs get hot, don't let the Birds get hot. They've won 7 in a row. Nebraska's won 5 in a row.
If Malachi Witherspoon pitches really, really well today, goes 6 or 7 innings and is able to lead Oklahoma to a win, Oklahoma is going to set up incredibly nicely to make a really good run at North Carolina and get to the super regional because they have the best right-hander in college baseball. So, but I'll take 8 SEC teams. Just give me 8 partiers. Maybe an ACC team sprinkled, and then give me one. Give me 6 SEC teams, 1 ACC team.
Matt needs to make friends.
Yes, Matt does need to make friends. And one Cinderella.
Give me the big Packers. I'll take a UCLA here.
Oh.
I'll take a Florida State here.
Okay.
Okay, and then other than that, let's have 6 SEC teams, and let's have a party beginning 2 weeks from today.
How about a North Dakota State? Would you take a Bison here?
No, we just eat a Bison.
They aren't even... No. You know what? I love the guys at North Dakota State, okay? The people that I know up there.
Sure. Shout out Sam.
I also like when Omaha beats them in basketball.
There you go.
Turned Omaha's season around. No, because they don't travel. Now, they have an interesting matchup today against Arkansas ahead of the Creighton, Kansas game, which you'll hear right here on 1620 The Zone with Connor Happer and Glenn Sisk.
Rock Chalk. I said it.
Whoa, where? You say Rock Chalk while wearing a Nebraska T-shirt.
I told you. I was Rock Chalk yesterday. I'm GBR also today. We're just trying to make sure everyone's taken care of.
You're going to get shivved when you go to Kohl's today.
You have to come find me on my couch.
But no to North Dakota State. Now, Arkansas is starting a guy that has primarily come out of the bullpen. So we're making a big thing about Kyson Weatherspoon.
Sure.
You not starting. That they're starting his brother. Which now I know more, which absolutely makes sense what Oklahoma is doing. But Arkansas is starting a guy that primarily comes out of the bullpen against North Dakota State. We don't want North Dakota State here, okay? I'm a big proponent of the Summit League. I got thoughts, by the way, later on the Summit League and men's basketball.
Sure.
But North Dakota State is so friggin' cheap, they're not even traveling their radio crew.
Oh, my God.
So Sam Niederman is a friend of mine. He's been the voice. And, they have Jeff Colhane was the voice now at Florida State. Sam has been the voice of North Dakota State, won a national championship in football. So he didn't come down here for the Summit League. And I texted him. I said, hey, you going to be here? he said, nah. And he wouldn't go into detail. I'm like, that's cool. I don't want to know your business. And then Monday I said, hey, I was getting him all these things about Arkansas, places to go in Fayetteville. You're going to have a great time. Hey, I don't know if you met Connor Happer, but he'll be down there. Make sure you hook up with him. Great guy.
Yeah.
And he goes, no. He goes, they won't pay to send the radio crew to Fayetteville. So we don't want North Dakota State here.
We're just going to recreate it on just like Bull Durham.
Are they going to broadcast it like remotely?
Nope.
No. Oh, there's a line drive to left field.
It'll be like Bull Durham. It'll be like Ronald. It'll be like, here's a history lesson for you, young man.
Thank you.
It'll be like Ronald Reagan at WHO doing the Cubs games. Are you familiar with 3 of those things?
One of them.
Yes. Reagan. He was the guy from Back to the Future.
Please tell me it's Ronald Reagan.
It is Ronald
Thank
Reagan.
you. Oh.
God, okay.
Faith is restored. Faith is restored.
Guys, I try and be funny, and I'm not the smartest tool in the box. But I'm not an idiot. I know that Ronald Reagan was a great actor.
Great actor.
And a president.
Thank you. Thank you. There you go. You didn't bury the lead.
No.
All right. Coming up on the show, Brandon Vogel will join us coming up at 8 o'clock because we got kickoff time.
Yeah.
You know what? I like the kickoff
That's why I'm here.
I'm a big fan. I was going through the
4 hours.
I love my favorite thing to do is the best apparatus for the schedule is the ESPN. Is ESPN.com. I'll tell you exactly why. They give you the spread. They give you the over-under. They give you the network. They give you the time, and they give you how much a ticket costs to the game. So if you go to like the ESPN CFB schedule.
No. You had me until you said what the ticket costs.
I think that's great.
That's the ticket that is on their algorithm of a secondary market.
No, I know, but like I'm not saying that I'm trying to buy tickets. Okay, I'm just telling you, I think it gives a good scope of like the importance.
I didn't know
game.
if you would go, man. Nebraska is charging $320 face value for the Michigan game.
No,
I'm with you. I think the first 6 games that were announced yesterday make sense.
They do,
and I'm happy. I'm happy, and I will tell you why, and I'm sure you will tell us why as well.
I
use the word
so
apparatus.
Excited.
Apparatus, a big word to use before 6:30.
Yeah. And the spelling bee going on right now?
Huh?
We're an educational program.
Not really.
I listen to
to some of the stuff we've already talked about.
That was educational, though.
Was it?
It is educational.
In Texas, if they try to trick you into opening your glove box, you don't have to open it.
For kids that are out there, don't do what I did. Also, what the hell's up? Council Bluffs, this is their last day of school. They made them come back after Memorial Day?
People still do that.
Let's be better, Council Bluffs.
Whoa, I always came back after Memorial Day.
Wow.
Always. I got out in early June.
Did they have extra days over there because of the snow?
What's
no, we always start. We did have extra days, but then we would. I don't know how it would work. I mean, but we would always get out around like June 3rd, June 4th. I didn't start getting out before Memorial Day until high school.
Friend of mine's a teacher over at Lewis Central, at Thomas Jefferson now, and he said, "Yeah, today's our last day of school." And I was like,
"It's not like they're doing anything."
Whoa! That doesn't mean
just
because you're going to school longer over there doesn't mean you're going to win on Black Friday. Thank you.
At 11 a.m. on CBS.
I like that. I like it.
I like it. Very happy about it.
I like it.
And I can't wait to watch Tulane and Northwestern on ESPNU.
By the way, your Purdue Boilermakers did get a major slot.
My Purdue Boilermakers?
They are playing USC on September 13th on CBS.
Yeah.
When that popped up yesterday, I was like, what you were saying about Purdue? I was like, there you go. Someone heard you.
You know what? They get one. You get one. you get. Everybody gets one Ty Berry game. Purdue gets one big slot. Done.
Brandon Vogel stops by at 8 o'clock. Mike Schaefer in at 9. We will talk about why I think this is the worst time of the year for Mike Schaefer's business. And then Matt Verzal stops by at 9:20. So here's the thing. Like at Pisons, he has ESPN Plus. It's not one of the more common streaming services for bars, but I would think that sports bars in this town, you could do pretty well today because you could kick it up at 4 with Nebraska, and then you just keep the streamer rolling.
And Verse has reason to be watching
for like 4 to 10. You get Nebraska and Creighton back to back. Hey, if there is a obscure sports bar, because most of like DJs, for example, has a watch party.
Yeah.
I imagine Let It Fly has. Oh, I think every.
Yeah.
Well, the one downtown is like the official Creighton watch party, but I got to imagine that like DJs, some of the well-known sports bars in this town, they would have to have ESPN Plus. But if you know of an obscure sports bar that is going to show the games and you know it for sure, and if you own it or you work there,
let us know.
We'll give you some love because I think this is, even though the weather's going to be great outside, I think it's a big happy hour into the evening for sports bars in this town because Nebraska and Creighton baseball play back to back, but they're ESPN Plus. So that's the thing. You got to have a place that they take the sports bar, the sports part of it serious, and they're like, we're going to give our patrons the games that they want.
My local establishment does not have ESPN Plus.
I would boycott it.
We're gonna have to
get a new establishment.
How does it?
Cheers would have had.
I was going to say. I wasn't going to say. I was going to say Creighton, but doesn't surprise me. But they better get it because outside of basketball, the Big East next year is going to be all over ESPN Plus. They're done with Flow Sports out.
They not doing
ESPN Plus in.
Those could be on Peacock though. Right?
Yeah.
Well, DePaul's got to have a place.
So
DePaul does have to have a place, Jimmy, and a Seton Hall.
Maybe I'm off here. Does ESPN Plus?
I'm pretty sure
be streaming in a bar seemed more obscure than Peacock.
What I think the problem with ESPN Plus is that I don't know if you can get it on a cable channel. So you would have to. Wouldn't you have to get a specific type of TV?
I mean, if you have Hulu,
so you're already streaming. Like you stream. Like when Nebraska football is played on the Peacock.
Sure.
They have bars show it and they have their streaming set up and then whatever negotiations go on and whatever they have to pay. So I imagine whatever that system is, it's the same system for ESPN Plus.
Okay. I would have to assume that too. I think ESPN Plus I'm a very big fan of it. I really am. Like I know that it's kind of dependent on what broadcast you get because there are some broadcasts that definitely aren't as equal as others on ESPN Plus in terms of quality and camera angles. But I think when they do an event like this, they do it right.
And this is, yes. Unfortunately, I think there's still going to be a couple of sites this weekend where the announcers are not on site.
Yes.
When Nebraska was in Fayetteville last time, the announcers were not on site.
Don says Good Life on 180th, and I know exactly what he's talking about. Has all your streaming services plus Peacock, all of them.
Good Life on 180th? Okay.
Make sure when Don is waiting on you tonight that you tip him well.
Mm-hmm. All right. 180th and Pacific.
All right. The lineup brought to you by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. We can discuss some baseball. We can discuss our love for the NCAA and expanding.
No.
I've always sat around, when I'm watching the tournament, and I always said, you know what? This tournament would be so much better if they added 4 more teams. I do that every year.
Yeah. Does it get higher and higher? You're like, one year it's 72, then it's 76, then it's 80, then it's 84.
If you would like to join the fun and frivolity of a Friday show where we're going to break down week 0 TV games
thoroughly.
402-951-1620. That is the Prairie Flower Casino hotline. Will they be showing Double Dose of Baseball this afternoon?
Yeah. If they did it anything like they did it at the NCAA tournament, and by the way, they have a great bar and TV area over there that's right next to the sports books.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to make a quick bet or anything like that while you're over there, they got a great setup at Prairie Flower Casino.
That's the number you can join us on. It's Gary and Matt with Jimmy on a Feel Good Friday, the end of May, 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in. Gary and Matt with Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. All of our lovely people that are on the stream that we can't see you, but you can see us.
What was that?
I was just pointing at them. Love
was
the
that
streamers.
A finger
They're up
gun,
early.
or was that a? That's what that looked like.
Hey, how you doing? From Lakeland, Florida, all the way to Philadelphia to 2 blocks away. We have a ardent streamer of 1620 The Zone that lives a couple of blocks from the radio station.
I did not know that. That's sick.
Yeah.
But Shad, I'm not going to guess which one is which. But
asking for a friend before we get to Sandy on the Prairie Flower Casino
The guy that
hotline.
says he's from Lakeland, Florida. He's from Lakeland, Florida.
Yeah, that's a place where you probably don't brag about, unless you know Chris Rainey. Where's the house settlement? I'm going to ask this at 6:37 on a Friday morning. Where's the house settlement? Nowhere to be found?
Nowhere to be found.
Okay, just checking.
Absolutely
just asking.
Nowhere to be found.
Asking for a friend in many, many colleges in athletics.
You mean all the colleges in athletics?
Here is Sandy. Sandy, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. I'm a 6A to 6P listener.
I love you long time.
Thank you, Sandy.
Okay, I'm a proud aunt, and I'm calling because my nephew and his golf team from Kearney Catholic, which is Class C, won the state tournament yesterday in golf.
Congratulations.
My nephew came in first.
You came in first?
Wow.
Yep, he won the whole tournament, and his name is Nash Malone, and I'm very, very proud of him. So I wanted to give him a shout out.
Hey, you know what? And they won by 9 strokes over Fremont Bergen. So that was a heck of a run playing in Grand Island over the last couple of days.
Yes, they did.
All right, now let's have a little background on Nash, who shot a 68, by the way, and his teammate, Tate Redinger, finished runner-up. So, is the whole family golfers?
Yeah.
No, my brother is a golfer, but not Nash could beat him.
Okay.
All
right.
My brother wouldn't like that I said that, but he could beat him.
Come on, Sandy. We like you more than your brother.
That's okay.
All right. Where does the first name come from?
I don't know, to be honest.
I'd ask your brother.
Actually, maybe my brother growing up was a huge fan of Nash Bridges.
Oh, really? That would be
I think that's where it came from.
That would be a fantastic story. Well, you know what? Congratulations. Now, how will the whole family, when you guys get together, celebrate Kearney Catholic's title and most importantly, Nash's individual title?
Yes.
I don't know because he doesn't get real excited about anything. So
I say the same about me.
I think that explains why he shot a 68. He's just a stone cold killer.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know what we'll do, but I texted him yesterday because, of course, teenagers don't speak on the phone. So we just texted, and I told him how proud I was of him, and so he'll just probably go about his day today like normal.
Hey, that is awesome. Congratulations, Aunt Sandy, and wish the Malones congrats as well.
Thank you so much for taking my call. Have a great day, all of you.
Hey, you too, Sandy. That is a voice that would make you happy.
Oh,
just she could work somewhere where she pick up the phone, she said, hello. You'd be like, oh, I'm in a good mood. My friend Adam said, Nash is a good player. My son plays against him in a lot of summer tournaments. Now, one developing story of the state golf, and Class A was in Kearney, C was in Grand Island, and
D was in Columbus.
Where was B? Oh, B was out in Gary.
Yeah.
So we had an upset in Class A. Lincoln East beat Omaha West Side.
Wow.
And Max Moss won by an extra hole, him against Miles Elgert, who you may know from Lincoln Southeast, or you know the family.
Sure.
Great golf family. Won.
Lincoln East also swept in boys and girls tennis a couple of days ago.
They're an Olympic sports school. They also won state baseball.
They are.
Yeah. But Lincoln East winning was a big deal against West Side. They beat them by 2 strokes. But Trevor Guchetsky, who won last night an award at the Oscars, did not win the individual title, but he will win many, many times in his career. So congratulations to all of the golfers.
God, good for those kids. Already they're good at golf.
That's the takeaway here. They're going to have a good life.
Oh my God, it's going to be so good for them. Mm-hmm. Like no matter what,
they'll always be healthy.
If they end up going to college and playing in college, that's incredible. Go and get a scholarship. They end up taking it to, professionals or whatever. Great for you. But even if you don't, and you end up having just, a job, whether it be in business or, in medicine or broadcasting or whatever.
Anything that they pay you to go to.
It's a great skill to have. You want to be the guy who everybody wants on your 4-man or 4 co-ed scramble at these big events, at these business events.
I went out for the Urbandale High School golf team, and then I got
told no.
Well, they found out I was a fraud because I just wanted to play at the Urbandale Country Club.
Oh,
so because that was their home course, and so I went out. There was no chance I would be selected for the 4-on tournaments and stuff.
Enjoy the course though.
And so the coach, who was one of my teachers, was like, "This isn't for you, is it?" I said, "I like golf." He's like, "Come on."
He's like,
"Come on."
He's like, "Gare, highest score doesn't win, bud."
I had fun for about 2 weeks, and then he's like, "You're not a golfer." And I'm like, "But I would like to play the course."
Jokes on him today.
Yeah. All right.
Would you be playing with them? And you're like, "I'll drop by you."
We had a couple of really good golfers. We had he was a sophomore when I was a senior. I think he went on to play at Iowa.
Wow.
Yeah, he was really, really good. And he has a son. Of course, everybody that grew up in Urbandale moves to further out into the burbs.
Sure.
I think his kid maybe was a medalist for Waukee Northwest a couple of years ago. I recognized the last name, and it was a guy that was in my high school that was really good at golf. All right, no more Urbandale talk. We will talk squeeze play. This is also a day that as you wake up and you have college baseball, and 2 weeks from today we have the College World Series where the just the party begins. Squeeze play is your friend today. Do you know the word squeeze play?
I know the
this is
NFL Red Zone baseball version of it.
Oh, this is.
I love how every sport is just getting their own. And I know squeeze play has been around for a couple of years. This isn't a new thing, but even now hockey is trying to get into their own NFL Red Zone version. I love it.
I don't know. And I don't know this for and maybe there's every game is available in linear TV that they don't present this for the men's and women's college basketball tournament. Because squeeze play,
I think that's a money thing. I think that's just like all the other, all these networks have bought all of these NCAA.
But they're all under the same umbrella, though. So,
sure.
College football, you can't do it because you're all over the map. You get Fox and ESPN, but for basketball, they're all under one network, either ESPN or the CBS family, and that's why Bases Loaded works so well, or bases squeeze play and then Bases Loaded. Softball and baseball work so well because ESPN has everything. I would watch one for college basketball.
I just don't think basketball is the best sport for that type of appliance.
Oh, it'd be great. The red zone for college basketball when you get to the final minutes and you switch from one game to another.
Exactly. You would have to wait a long time for a 15-minute stretch where you have multiple games going in and out in the last 4 minutes for it to really count. I feel like baseball and hockey, if you can zone in on one moment, and that's immediately a big moment because not a lot of runs.
You got MLB Big Inning, which is my favorite TV show.
Which is really good, but it's not as readily available and promoted, but they do a really, really good
promoted.
job.
I love what the MLB, I think the MLB network
I could watch it every night.
Job.
We could watch it every night. Sorry.
We will watch football, like we were saying earlier.
We like football.
The first 6 games were announced that are a TV. You already knew the Nebraska-Cincinnati game, which 13 Fridays from now we'll be breaking down. Does Nebraska cover as a 6.5-point favorite against Cincinnati?
13 Fridays from now, I'll be on my 3rd Monster Energy drink, trying to wake up.
Damn.
How did the new radio guys sound? How did the new radio network in Omaha? How did they do? Next week, you guys will hear stuff. No, it's they're waiting for baseball to get over.
Yeah. But they're going to win this week, so you're going to have to wait longer.
They're still going to announce it next week.
Yeah.
That game, a night game, I like it. I was jonesing for Akron to be at night. I love me some 6:30. That game's on
FS1.
Is it FS1?
Or No.
Houston Christian.
That's Big Ten. That game's Big Ten. Houston Christian's FS1.
First home game should be at night. Okay,
I agree.
And then
I agree.
Houston Christian at 11 a.m. I mean, the tomato can on your non-con should be the 11 a.m. game, but the fact that got picked up by FS1 is kind of interesting.
It's very interesting.
Yeah,
and
but that's
because they know GBR.
I think I know the angle though.
Dylan Raiola.
Yeah, that's the angle. I think Fox wants a game where they know that Nebraska's going to look good. Dylan Raiola is going to hopefully, in particular, look good, and then they can kind of hype that up and have that B-roll and have that packaging. So when they get future games, they're like, "Hey, we saw him play against Houston Christian. These are the types of throws he was making."
All by who?
That's why they did it.
Maybe television networks like the Raiolas because his brother Dayton playing at Buford in Georgia, their first game on August 14th. Yes, high school football starting in Georgia.
Warm.
First game August 14th is going to be on national TV as well.
National?
And then, we'll be on national TV, one of the ESPN channels.
Wow.
It's August 14th. We want some high school football.
I'm going to tune in for that.
Well, of course, it's football.
Yeah, of course it's football.
What else are we going to watch?
Dayton Raiola.
But then you go to Michigan is 2:30.
Love it.
You and many others wanted a night game.
But 2:30 is great.
But 2:30 gives you the best announcers.
Yes.
Now also that window where you're going to have the promotion because the NFL will be underway. And when you're watching that previous Sunday, when you're watching the NFL, they're going to be promoting Nebraska, Michigan. Now, Michigan may be 2-1 coming into the game after they lose a primetime game in Norman, but they will promote Nebraska, Michigan, and it will get so much promotion off of CBS. And then at 2:30, the best announcers, maybe the best presentation, the best music will give you Nebraska, Michigan.
I can just imagine it right now. It's September 13th. It's a little bit windy. You're sitting in front of your couch. It's
from
Sunday.
The south. It's hot.
The Washington Commanders are absolutely crapping on the Carolina Panthers right now. It's 34-13, and all of a sudden, just across your screen, tune in to our college football matchup of the week as the Michigan Wolverines and their shiny new quarterback Bryce Underwood take on the resurrected Nebraska Cornhuskers and Dylan Raiola.
Religious.
2:30 kickoff here on CBS Sports.
That could be the promo. That might be the promo. And then Black Friday is 11 a.m. I'm good with it.
Love it.
Yeah, you're not playing at night. Not with Nebraska volleyball playing.
No.
Nebraska against Penn State volleyball? No. They push Nebraska Iowa football away. We're a volleyball school.
And I like being given a reason to wake up.
I mean, I do too most days.
Early in the morning.
Thank you. The best contribution you've had to the show today.
Jimmy, let me finish my sentence. I like being given a reason to wake up early in the morning. Okay? Right?
I had a reason.
The day after Thanksgiving, I'm going to be stuffed. I'll have a slight headache, not too big of a headache, but a slight headache.
But you're going to be you're not happy though. You can't be happy with the 11 a.m.
No,
because what happens if it's a 3-hour plus game?
And then I have to lead into a heartbreaking loss into my biggest game of the season. This is just the battles we live with. These are just things I have to do.
Does he know he's doing overreaction that day?
I am not. Guys, I will do any overreaction that anybody wants me to do.
Don't look at me. I have no say.
I have no problem with doing overreactions for as many games as possible. I just ask that this is the one game that I just get exempt, that I don't have to do overreaction for. I really, like from the bottom of my heart, pretty pleased because let me have this one.
Now, here's the overreaction. So Friday night in Minneapolis, we'll get into that in the next hour, which I really
no.
There were people inside of the walls down in Lincoln that thought that UCLA would be the Friday night game.
Yeah.
I don't think they're surprised because they knew that Nebraska knew they were going to play a Friday night game on the road. Mm-hmm. I think maybe the Minnesota game was like, okay. But I think a lot of people thought, okay, the Rose Bowl, Friday night, UCLA. We'll get into that. But here will be the overreaction. And this is probably the most, if you are the logistical person of the rest of the schedule that comes out, what is the kick time when Nebraska flies to the East Coast to play Maryland? That will be looked at because you will if Troy Dannon had to pick up the phone and he had to call Tony Petitti and he said, "Hey, can you put in a word? We do not want to play at night at Maryland.
No.
Because you're on a short week, back on the road, going to Minneapolis. Play any other time, doesn't make a difference. If they did play at night, then I'd have to go, okay, now that gets kind of interesting.
Because you would have to think about staying over, right? Or you would have to leave and you'd
come back right after the game.
Yeah, okay.
But you already have a day off of your prep. And if it's a day game, no big deal. I mean, 11 a.m. or 2:30, noon, 3:30 on the East Coast, no big deal. But if all of a sudden this game pops up on Peacock at 6:30 at night, now you're like, okay, we gotta work on some things. I mean, if you're good, you're not going to be impacted. But for the logistical standpoint, you're like, you know what? Let's go play a noon game at Maryland.
Yeah.
That'll be the game to watch. But that's one of those games that's, might be put in the window.
How far
is that not announced yesterday?
From here
to
it's
Rutgers? It's not direct. It's a chartered flight.
Yeah.
But it's not like you're flying into Chicago. It's probably a couple hours.
Yeah. 2.5,
probably. Get a little snack.
3 hours.
Drink.
I'm ecstatic that Minnesota's on Friday at night. I love it. I love that it's prime time. I love that it's a night game. I love that there's going to be a lot of hype for it. I love that there are going to be a lot of people watching it because, and you've mentioned it many times, that's a massive put up or shut up game.
That is the huge swing game of the 2025 season.
That is like, hey, prove it. Like prove that this program's different. Prove that we're moving in the right direction. Prove that all the work that we've been doing, all the recruiting that you've been doing is actually going to result and have some progress. That's the ultimate game.
Minnesota has 2 Friday night games. They go to Oregon.
Oof.
They also go to Cal this year, which a game doesn't start until 9:30 Minneapolis time when that was announced yesterday.
We need late night TV.
So this is how, I put out the tweet yesterday. I have a screenshot of the 94 pocket schedule where
it's beautiful.
There were either 2:30 kicks or everything was 1 o'clock or there might be a couple of TBAs. We now live in a world where 3 of Nebraska's 12 games will not be played on Saturday.
Friday. What's the
Thursday?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Cincinnati. That's been pretty common though over the last
these Peacock
couple
games.
of
You
years.
have 1 at 1 o'clock for nostalgia purposes. It's for the old heads.
What if you didn't have TV? What if you
radio?
What if you just threw your radio partners a bone and said this is radio only?
Take your little sports headset?
Like we had back in the day when Nebraska football was kicking ass.
I
Shorter
love,
timeouts.
I love it when my team is on national TV. I like it way more when Nebraska's on national TV than when any of my other teams are on national TV.
You liked it when they were winning championships. We all have our things.
So I like it. I'm fine with the Thursday games and the Friday games because it means that we get national television.
Only thing is,
I'm still that little fan that loves it when when the national people talk about my team.
That's good.
That can be good and bad.
I know.
But here's the thing about the Friday night game. We learned this lesson last year against Illinois, and the year before learned our lesson at Illinois, is it can potentially make or ruin your weekend.
Right.
So I go back to September. Sure. That was a great atmosphere. Place was packed. Mm-hmm. It was a fun day. And Nebraska will do it at least one more time as a home game.
And it'll be fun then.
But you still had Saturday football, and you still had Sunday, and you still had Monday football.
The loss ruminates a little bit more when it happens.
It has the potential. It has the potential if you play on Friday night, or heck, even on Thursday, and you don't win. It has the potential to ruin your weekend, and that's all you think about. And your interest, because my interest in watching the Saturday college football slate, which was, if I recall, was not great,
but it's still football.
It was still football. And, you wake up and death taxes and 11 a.m. you're watching a game. Mm-hmm. Even the Sunday, you're like, God, did overtime really go like that? So when you do play Thursday, Friday, it has the potential to ruin your weekend where your interest in the football is like, okay,
but I guess
the honeydew list has been handed to me, and this wedding that now I'm forced to go to sucks. And I hope they don't last more than a month.
When you win, though, you wake up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed in the morning, 7 a.m.
Your weekend is so much different.
Let's just go to a random wedding.
There's not a honey-do list.
Let's go to a pumpkin patch.
Do you want to come with me to the grocery store? Let's go and get some breakfast after. Let's have a good time. You sit down. You pop your feet up a little bit, higher up on the couch when you're watching on Saturday. And then when you get to Monday in the press conferences, you're like, yeah, man, we're winners. And then you reset. Then you flush it.
The other thing that has been dispelled is this impact in high school football.
Oh, yes.
I've done games on Friday nights when Nebraska's playing on the road. People still go to the games. They still watch the game on the phone. Here's the bigger thing, though, that I don't know if you looked at the high school football schedule.
No, I have not.
There may be some movement with some Thursday night games this year because, Nebraska-Cincinnati is playing at 8 o'clock. West Side and North play to open up the year on that Thursday night.
Oops.
So more Thursday than Friday. I think it's become accepted that Nebraska once a year is going to play on a Friday, and high schools will respond, or high schools will say, you know what, we're not seeing a huge impact at our gate. We're not going to change our kick from 7 o'clock to 4 or move it to a Saturday if we don't have to.
I don't think there's anything wrong with going to the high school game and having earbuds in, listening to the radio call.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Seen it. People did a game a couple years ago, and the person sitting in front of me had their iPad.
I was at a Illinois high school football game, and I had the Husker Radio Network in my ear for the Friday game.
A little bit later, Brandon Vogel will join us. Mike Schaefer, Matt Verzal. That is the lineup for a Friday show on the first summer Friday of the year. 2 weeks from the College World Series, the road to Omaha begins today for the Huskers and the Jays in Chapel Hill and Fayetteville. We will talk about what if you go 1-0 today? What happens? Or if you go 0-1, what happens?
What if we win counter? That's up to 1 now.
There you go. It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Hour number 2 for all of us that did not win our Scripps National Spelling Bee pool last night. I'm with you. I took an L. That's one of the worst years I've ever had in our this is the 17th year.
There's no way you are in a Scripps National Spelling Bee pool.
You're new here. You've not heard me explain what we do.
And they call me Matt McSportsbook.
That's just something my friends when I was living in Florida, we got together and we do a pool. This was year number 17. So you get to choose the gender. You get to choose if they wear glasses or not, where their parents are from, what state they're from, how many vowels are in their first and last name. Also,
great.
You get points for how long they last. So we have a draw, and then you are assigned a state.
I thought you were like,
this is great.
You pick the actual name.
I want to get in on
this.
This
scouting these kids. You're like, I love Danny Anderson this year. He spelled eucalyptus faster than anyone in the history of America.
Should have known. So,
so
Faison, who won last night, he's a 13-year-old from Texas. A little bit of a stunner because he was in the spell-off last year. And he actually, because he failed, he helped me win some money. But you know what? Now the kid's going to be running the country before long.
Great redemption story, much like the 2014 Spurs.
It is.
Having their heart broken the year before.
This is incredible.
It is. But so we have all of these that you get points for. And also, we added a category last year. What is their reaction when they win?
Sure.
Do they cry?
Do they smile?
Who's the first person they hug? Like there's like 30 different categories. Last night was my worst performance ever. And that's because I found out that people in South Carolina can't spell. Okay.
Do you pick South Carolina as your state?
Well, I didn't. It's a draw.
Oh, you draw.
It picked him.
Draw. Hey, I got South Carolina. First time I ever had South Carolina. Now, I won 2 years ago. But we had South Carolina. And all I could think about as my contestant was not doing very well is the fact that Rick Barnes said once he left Clemson because the education in South Carolina was not very good. And I'm like, I wish I would have known that before I got assigned to South Carolina.
Okay, wait. How many do you think if I gave you one of these words that you'd be able to get it done? I give you a random word for you to spell. Could you do it?
5th grade spelling bee champion from St. Pius X.
Okay. I'm going to give you, no, I don't want a 2B word. I want a 4B. All right, 3B. You ready?
Okay, if you can't pronounce it, then I'm not going to spell it.
Cyrillic.
Cyrillic?
Cyrillic.
Sounds like a name that some hippies would give a baby.
Cyrillic.
Can you spell it, or can you not spell it? Can you use it in a sentence?
This is my daughter, Cyrillic.
The Cyrillic alphabet. The Slavic people use the Cyrillic alphabet to communicate to one another. Cyrillic.
Oh, Cyrillic.
Cyrillic.
Then I say Cyrill.
You said L. You had one L. I think you had one L there.
Go back and look at the tape.
I think you had one L there.
Two.
Challenge it.
Had one L there.
Like the NBA.
I had 2.
You had one L.
Thank you, Eddie said yes, you did have 2 L's.
Okay, you got it right.
Thank
Congratulations. You. Cyrillic.
That's an easy word.
I was on 3B. Some of these words are hard to pronounce, man. They are, dude. Okay. How about this one? How about okay. Crew.
As in Motley?
Crew. There's
different spellings for crew.
Yeah.
There you go.
There's J. Crew. There's Rowing and Crew. There's Motley Crew.
Blatherskite.
Blatherskite?
Blatherskite.
That sounds like what I had surgery for last week.
Okay, what is blatherskite?
Blatherskite. Let me pull up the definition here. Blatherskite is a person who talks at great length without making much sense. Blatherskite.
Me. That's easy.
Okay.
You just have to sound it out.
Yeah.
Blatherskite.
There you go. I thought maybe you might slip up there and go SKYTE.
No.
These hard.
So congratulations to Faison. Well, his last word.
But all these words that are on here that are like level, that are 4B, level 4B or whatever, I can't pronounce any of these. I can't.
Would you like to attempt to?
Sure.
Now this may.
This is what the people want.
This might be dangerous.
This might be really embarrassing. Go ahead. Give me a hard one.
You've said worse here.
Eclaircissement.
Jeez.
That's the winning word from last night.
Eclaircissement?
Eclaircissement. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly.
I'm not
I think I'm in the ballpark.
I'm not going to
eclair with cement in
it. I'm not
clearing up of something obscure.
Okay. Eclaircissement. EUCLAIRCIMENT. Eclaircissement.
All right. Coming up at 8 o'clock is Brandon Vogel. No.
Was I even remotely close?
You had a couple of letters along the way there.
Okay. I just grabbed a couple just coming on through.
But it's a 20th round of competition.
I was about to say.
Oh, you're worn down by that.
Autour.
I don't even know if you're pronouncing that correctly. So,
Autour.
Autour?
Autour.
Give me the definition.
Autour. A filmmaker whose personal influence and artistic control over a movie are so great that the filmmaker is regarded as the author of the movie. Auteur.
Or an author.
O-T-O-U-R?
It's A-U-T-E-U-R.
Of course it is. It's like truculent.
Yes.
Truculent.
Okay. This is a terrible segment. I apologize.
Pretty bad.
This will be on the radio replay.
So the college football 26 trailer, did you guys watch it yesterday? Did you break it down?
Yeah, I watched it. It looks fine. Looks like.
Oh,
wow.
Looks
it's all right if you like that kind of thing.
It looks like it might be incredible.
I've been in the video game trailer game since I was about 10 years old.
Okay.
Way back.
Where when these especially when the new gen consoles came out, the PS4 just came out. Oh my God, WWE 2K15 with John Cena on the cover. It looks absolutely incredible. I've been doing this song and dance of, oh my goodness, this game looks insane. And then you get and you play it and you're like, yeah, it's a video game. It's your standard looking video
it
game.
prepares you for life.
Like I've always thought that the video game trailers are way better than the actual video games. Like there's something about how they edit it and do the replays. So these trailers, you couldn't even do replays on the last college football game. You could not go back, pause the game, and replay what was going on. And so it's these trailers that they made were incredibly movie trailers. They were cinematic. So it's I'm not fully buying in to it looks good. It looks like I'm going to buy it. I'm going to play it. I'm going to have a good time. It looks fun. There's new details in there. The pregame looks better. They have, more access. Coaches are actually in the game.
Yeah,
James Franklin looks incredible. Steve Sarkisian looks like The Rock.
Do you think they'll have Matt Rule licking his lips?
You have to. I mean, you got to go. You got to do it right. You got to smock him up.
Now, I have seen the screenshot. Ryan Day looks like something.
I'm glad.
In college football 26. Lots of drones. People are into drones these days.
Drones, big.
Lots of drone shows. It's not just Nebraska and their drone show, which is on the opposite side of where they have it in the stadium, but lots of people have drones. Drones are everything now.
They take over.
They're going to be the story of 2025, not about the expanded playoff or what we're going to do, but that who can one-up each other with a drone.
And if you don't have a drone show, you're not really committed.
And what is
the
drone show going to look like against Akron?
We're going to get to the point where it's just we're going to have 400 drones in the sky. Where it's just
eventually Skynet becomes self-aware.
Way too many drones.
Let me look this up because
how do you get bigger than drones? How do you go up and above drones?
That would be aliens.
Hold on here.
What's the next evolution of pregame
or AI? Look at the Terminator movies when the machines take over. It'll be like that.
Okay. There were over 300 drones
in
the air for Nebraska's volleyball day in Nebraska when they did that big drone show.
So 600. Double it. Football season. And then
GBR.
Next year, 1,200. Just keep doubling it. More and more drones.
The there's a lot of drones in this game.
Have you seen the videos of the Disney World drone show that they do? Absolutely incredible. They did it for.
They do it better in the SEC.
Or no, I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. I think it was an Angels game. I think it was an Angels game. They did a Star Wars themed drone show, and it was super cool. It was one of the coolest videos I've seen. You should look at it.
Peter got to see that last week.
Speaking of the Angels, did you guys know that Mike Trout's been out for a month?
It's kind of par for the course.
That's what you hear on this station.
He's returning today from his leg injury, his stint on the IL.
He had a great start to the season, and I mean,
but did you know? I mean, like,
not at all.
Like, man, I miss Mike Trout.
No, because
Mike Trout's been gone a month.
You can't miss Mike Trout if Mike Trout hasn't been around over the last 2 years. Unfortunately, he's one of the greatest players of all time. Unfortunately, these last 3 seasons, he hasn't been able to prove it. And it used to be a bit when he was winning MVPs and he was by far, hands down, the best player in the MLB. It used to matter when he got hurt. Now it doesn't really matter. Also, his team isn't all that great.
No. But while the Dodgers and the Yankees play this weekend, I mean,
I'm sure that'll be on TV.
Like Trout returning, where he's a Hall of Famer, doesn't seem to be as big a deal as I thought it would be. That's an Angels thing, as you mentioned, and also a Trout thing. But I don't know. People realize that Mike Trout's been out a month, and now he's coming back, and he'll look to Dodger Stadium tonight to see his buddy Ohtani playing against the Yankees in a rematch of the World Series and go, what could have been?
We're gonna look.
Will
back.
I look good playing in Philadelphia, or do I look good with that huge contract I signed?
We're gonna look back and be like, I cannot believe Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani were on the same exact team together.
You know how many
did not end up making the playoffs?
You know how many playoff games they won?
0.
You know how many Mike Trout playoff games he's won?
0.
You know how many times Mike Trout will go to the Hall of Fame?
Once.
1. First ballot.
Yeah. No, first ballot for sure. There probably will be that weird guy who goes, no, doesn't deserve to be first ballot, and it'll be like a 98.5%.
Yeah, he has to have one more like monster Mike Trout MVP type year to
be unanimous.
Dispel. I don't think he'll be unanimous, but to have that one person that goes, I'm going to be the outlier. I'm like, you know what? We'll leave him off. We'll make him sweat it out for year number 2.
I don't. Sometimes I get it. There's actual debate when it comes to the Baseball Hall of Fame, but when the guy is just clearly a Hall of Famer, and you're just like, oh, he just has to sweat it out. I don't like that. I mean, if he's a Hall of Famer, he's a Hall of Famer. Hall of Fame. So,
speaking of back to TV, we broke down in the first hour the 6 games that were announced that are TV. Scott Docterman from The Athletic, who covers the Hawkeyes, who is a frequent guest on the show, did another fabulous job of breaking down the draft on how it happens, which please televise it. Mm-hmm. Just televise it.
One day we'll
go out there and televise it for us that would like to watch it. And trust me, I know schedule release shows are not popular. They're popular. Mm-hmm. But this draft of how the networks draft what games they're going to play,
it would be electric.
It would be fantastic. Now, here's the other thing.
Be a really easy way to know where do you stand in college football.
Yes, made for TV.
Big time.
Show. I got a new one for you.
Okay.
So there's a lot of discussion out of the SEC and the Big Ten, which Petiti and Sankey are going to have to get together. One's a 5+11, the other is a 4-4. Blah, 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 blah. They're going to need to get together. At least they have a nice working relationship to figure this all out. But I think we are going to get to the Big Ten and the SEC are going to play one game against each other. Okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which I think is fantastic. I also think it'll be what time of the year you will play it in, because a lot of schools already have their first couple of weeks set with non-conference games. So I'd like to see this like maybe the end of October, inside of their conference seasons already, which would juice up a weekend and would dominate college football.
Would you rather have it, because you mentioned that the non-cons are kind of already set, would you rather have them adjust their early season non-cons and having in the beginning of the year, or that weird like week 9, week 10
that the SEC has?
Has? Would you rather throw it in there?
Well, there might be a little bit more pushback because that's later in the year, and they'll be like, oh my, what happens if I would like it in the course of late September to early November.
Okay.
But here's what you do. Please make the matchups random instead of regional. I am a child of the 90s. I remember when Colorado and Oklahoma were a big thing around here. And I know Mizzou is close by, and I would like to see Nebraska and Mizzou play at least once or twice more in my lifetime. But I'm over Oklahoma and Colorado. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Oklahoma and Colorado were a big deal to Nebraska in the 90s. I'm speaking probably in the minority. That's okay. You know what? Getting revenge on Texas is a bigger deal to me, and Nebraska and Texas playing than, hey, let's play Oklahoma again because we can reminisce and be nostalgic. You know what? That rivalry hasn't been crap since the early 90s.
Sure.
Okay? So for any of the newbies out there, Nebraska, Oklahoma is just on YouTube. It's not, hey, man, I went to this game, and God dang it, Keith Jackson and Lydell Carr, and oh, my God, did you see Neil Harris in the 80s? Yeah. And then the Colorado, which was, again, I'm a child of the 90s. Loved it then. We've got it sprinkled in. We've got moments from, once the Big 12 was coming to an end and then what we've done the last couple of years doing the home and home. I would love for it to be random. And I speak as a college football fan when I say this because this is, and you know this because you heard me rant about this, about the Tennessee getting done. I want to experience new places and stadiums. And I think because of Nebraska's fan base that loves the same thing, and look at back in the day, if you go back into the 80s when they would play, they'd go to South Carolina, they'd go to Auburn, they'd go to places that you don't normally go to. In some of the other random non-conference games that Nebraska's played during the way, you've gotten to go to places, you've gotten to go to iconic stadiums. That's what I want as a fan, is to follow my team and go to random places that normally I wouldn't go to on my own, but because they're a matchup, as a fan, I get to go to Tuscaloosa and see my team play in that atmosphere. I get to go once again to Death Valley and see Nebraska and LSU play. I don't want to be like, oh, I've been to Norman. Hey, the stadium looks much better than it did when we were all in the Big 12. Hey, good for you. Hey, Lloyd.
Hey, I went to this one
great
spot
to see
20
you, man.
years ago.
Hey,
I'll go
there's
back
the
there.
stupid, Sooner Schooner. There it comes out on the field. I've seen that before. I want randomness. And then this is where I get you your made-for-TV show. You have it, the lull of February in college football right after the Super Bowl.
Okay.
You want to own the market? You have a joint SEC Network Big Ten show where, just like drawing lottery balls,
you find out
there
you're gonna play,
where you're going to play. So one year you're on the road.
Yeah.
The next year you're at home, but you don't know who your opponents are. It's not matched up. Hey, 1 versus 1, 15 versus 15. It is the most random thing, and you would be on the edge of your seat going, oh my God, Nebraska's going to get Vanderbilt. Here we go.
So
because Wisconsin just got Alabama again. Oh, Nebraska, the only ones left, the only teams that are
Oregon
left on
and
the
Kentucky,
board.
baby.
Yeah.
I'd
love it. I would be here for it.
Half-hour ping pong ball show, and then right after that show, you have where the networks draft what games they want to carry for that specific week at that specific time. So in 1 hour, you know who you're playing in the SEC, and you know where you're playing them, and you know what network you're on.
That might be a little bit early for that.
I know. I'm hypothetical.
And we don't want to take the thunder away from the show. And here's another thing. For people that are saying, you know what? No. I want to play Oklahoma and Colorado more. No. Do you think the Oklahoma and Colorado people are sick of coming to Lincoln? How about we get some new people here? Remember what it was like when Oregon fans came here?
Oh, yeah.
They had a great time. They loved it. That is one of the most well-attended visiting fan bases that I've seen in a long time, is when Oregon played at Nebraska about 10 years ago. We talk about going to places that we've never been before to watch Nebraska play. How about schools that would man, that'd be cool to see my team playing and trying to score a touchdown in the red end zone in that newly finagled Memorial Stadium. So college football is all about experiences. That's why I advocate for the student athlete, Matthew. You know why I do?
Why do you do that?
Because if I came to Nebraska to play football or any other Big Ten school, and I went through my 5 years and I stuck around, I sucked the NIL money off.
Sure.
Okay, maybe I didn't play very much.
That's one way to put it.
But if I went through my career and I never got to play at the Horseshoe or in State College or in Ann Arbor, wouldn't I feel like my experience was like, okay, yeah, I guess I played in the Big Ten, but I never got to play in the iconic structures that make the Big Ten so special. And I look at it from the other side. If I'm someone at 17 other schools and I don't ever get to play in Lincoln, I'd be like, oh, man, I missed out on that opportunity. I'm about the experiences, the atmospheres, because that's what makes college football. I think this is a brilliant idea, and I don't know why it hasn't been discussed more.
And competition in non-conferences and like non-con games not being as competitive because you just want wins has eliminated a lot of those experiences, especially for this fan base. I know what you're saying. I've kind of been on the same wave with you for a little bit. I would do half random and half selected. Okay. The reason why I would do half random is I think it's cool if like Michigan State played South Carolina or like Maryland played like Kentucky, or we had these random matchups we don't see before. At the same time, I don't want to watch Ohio State play Vanderbilt. I don't want to watch, Alabama take on Northwestern, okay? For my sake. Now, at the same time, I don't want every single year we're doing the same exact matchups, right?
Yes.
So I would advocate for a mix. Let's do half of like, hey, this year we're going to make sure that Nebraska plays Texas. But we have these other 14 teams. We're just gonna roll them around and we'll find those. So I would like both. I want marquee matchups, and I want like that's cool. Minnesota is gonna play LSU. I haven't seen that before. Like,
what about Nebraska going to the Swamp?
That
you would be in for that?
Well, we talked about this
Saturday night in Death Valley.
February. What would our number one spot be for Nebraska to play on a road game in the SEC? It'd be Baton Rouge for me. Without a doubt.
It's all about experiences.
It's a fun place.
Neyland Stadium. Pretty nice. 24 past the hour. Brandon Vogel will join us coming up at 8 o'clock with some thoughts and more. Mike Schaefer, Matt Verzal on the opening day of the road to Omaha for Nebraska Creighton and 62 of their friends on 1620 The Zone. Hey, your friend can be Moose Roofing. That's right. Pat Moose and his entire crew, they are getting ready to wrap up the week as they are taking care of you. If you need roofing, siding, or gutters, Moose Roofing is the place to go. A wonderful experience, as many of you have already let me know, that needed, maybe with an older home, to have your roof looked at. It's been damaged by storms, even from last year. You sit down and you're like, okay, I've heard horror stories. Is this going to go as smooth as possible? With Moose Roofing, it will. For example, a guy by the name of Sean Michael, project manager, comes out. They're great with the communication. And again, I've seen this firsthand, and I'm hearing from listeners, is they come out and they sit down with you and they get to know you first. And then they get on your roof. They assess what you need with your roofing, your siding, and your gutters. And then they go to work. But first, you have to deal with your insurance company. And you're like, oh, geez, another headache. Nope. They have an entire department at Moose Roofing that is dedicated to helping you navigate that entire process. And then they go to work. It is an incredible experience, smooth as possible, and you get the most valuable asset, your home, taken care of, courtesy of Moose Roofing. They've been in business for nearly 30 years, right here in Omaha. They're here now. They're here during the storm. They're here after the storm. They're not going anywhere, from Western Iowa all the way to Lincoln, and in between, 15,000 roofs that Pat Moose and his crew have taken care of. For more information and to set up a consultation, just go to the website. Easy to navigate, mooseroofing.com. That's mooseroofing.com. TC writes in the Echo Bank inbox. Kid from South Carolina failed me in the spelling bee. He sends me the clip of the Miss Teen USA 2007 when the young woman from South Carolina had to answer a question.
Did you?
Geography was not her friend at the time.
I've seen a couple of those infamous and famous Miss America questions before. My favorite one, though, is they asked a Miss America pageant woman to solve foreign policy.
That was a question?
That they asked her, this is when...
They really are desperate to find somebody to fix this
some
place.
terrorist attacks were going on, and it was really big in the geopolitical news, and they asked her, what would you do? Hey, Miss Maine, what would you do in order to solve this? And she gave a riveting answer about how she would team up with the United Nations.
Okay.
And how America should use their allies in order to combat these terrible attacks in these countries and have to make sure that our foreign policy is strong and that we are still the leaders. And it was an incredible answer.
Did she win?
I don't know. I don't think she won. It was a John Oliver special on Miss America pageants, and they showed that answer. It was he then was like, I listened to the answers from the actual people in Congress. That one was better. That one was better than actual elected officials.
Checks out.
John writes into the Echo Bank inbox about the SEC, everybody's favorite conference.
Everybody's favorite desperate conference.
Just means more.
Everybody's favorite midlife crisis conference. They are going through what would be a midlife crisis right now in terms of using these last 4 days of their spring session to literally just propaganda themselves into being the top conference, even though the results from last year very much still stand. And now they're handing out packets to media reporters to sway their decisions, which, by the way, 4 of the 5 stats that they've used, or I think it was a number of the stats that they used in that packet came from ESPN. There were ESPN made stats that to help support their case in order for why the SEC is the best conference, which is kind of fun. I mean, obviously you're going to use ESPN stats to help you out because ESPN is the the provider of the SEC. It's just they're going through a midlife crisis right now. They didn't get their way, and now they're freaking
out. John's question is: if the Big Ten and the SEC start playing one game per year against each other, that coward Matt Rule will quit and run away and hide.
Whoa.
I mean, not if he's mandated. I mean, I don't think he'll quit.
I think if the particulars changed a little bit, he would change his mind.
Well, Indiana,
Troy Dannon's fact-finding and information gathering when he is on the committee will be fascinating to see how Nebraska moves forward with scheduling. Because Rule, as much as it sucks that Nebraska got out of the Tennessee home and home, and it sucks, that's the way to play the game. That's not a Nebraska thing. That's a college football thing where we're at right now. And the guy that runs the SEC basically reiterated that, Matt Rule was right. It sucks for college football fans. But if the particulars change and there is a definite benefit of a Big Ten SEC, then you would say, giddy up. Thank you, Mike Leach. And you would sign up for it.
If 9-3 and 8-4 gets in over 10-2 consistently in the college football playoff, and it's based off the fact that teams are playing SEC teams, then Nebraska's going to play SEC teams.
Yeah, you're 9-3 in the Big Ten and the SEC. You're going to get the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
I mean, the SEC has benefited from the SEC for the longest time, and now when they don't, somebody else is benefiting because of the Big Ten, or at least it's starting to appear that the Big Ten gets the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, I mean, but both teams in those conferences. That's why the 5+11. If you are good in the Big Ten and the SEC,
you're going to get in anyway.
You're going to get in. Chad writes in about the Big Ten and the SEC. I don't know enough about NIL, but could they put an NIL pool, a prize pool, on which conference wins more games when they play each other? Winning conference gets to split it amongst the players, or each school gets so much to throw a fan fest. If they wanted to own spring even more, they could throw in a flag football tournament between the conferences. That is from Chad. Thank you.
I don't think they'll need extra motivation to necessarily play or play each other or take place in this SEC Big Ten Invitational. But I think all the colleges would be for it if they get a little bit more moolah, right? I mean, and you are essentially creating new inventory.
But is there a point that the bubble is going to burst and there's not going to be money there?
I'm more
like, are we anywhere close to that around college athletics? Because there's a lot of money and people are spending a lot of money to carry games.
I think we are. I don't think we're 2 years away, but I do think we are like 10 years away. I do think we are. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised in the next 3 or 4 years that you see that you have donors just fully being like, no, I don't really want to give you this amount of money for this player. I've already bought you 7 players. We've finished 9-3 in all 7 of those years. You told me the same thing over and over again, that these guys were going to be the difference. Hey, they weren't the difference. I'm going to save my money and do something else with it. I think we'll get there probably in 3 years. But NIL money is kind of, I mean, we're assuming based on when this settlement gets signed and what happens after that NIL money isn't going to be as pronounced. So maybe that'll happen naturally.
Oh, there's a lot of money. Money is everything. Money is the discussion about why we're going to 16. Money is the discussion why we're going to 72 or 76. Money is everything. But at some point, the bubble has to burst and someone is going to pay. I mean, is college basketball and college football the only two that are fail-proof?
I think.
And when it comes to money and just television networks just financing leagues, essentially.
The bubble hasn't burst yet, and there already are sports that have to pay. There already are sports who are suffering from the fact that NIL has happened. Look, Oregon, UCLA, they made the NCAA tournament, but I'll tell you this right now, I don't think it was an easy road for them in terms of all the travel that they had to do, right? Same thing with softball. I mean, I think we had Luke Mullen come on the show and talk about how softball travel budgets have been absolutely blown out of proportion because you have now teams that didn't have to go to the West Coast anymore that now have to go to the West Coast. And you have more and more schools. It seems like every couple of weeks we're finding out that schools are dropping sports, that they're getting rid of sports. And the bubble hasn't even burst yet. And that's happening.
So more on the college football kicks yesterday. The ones I liked. I think having a primetime game, Michigan-Oklahoma, is fantastic.
Yeah.
Because Oklahoma does have a tendency to get a little bit rowdy at night down there. I mean, Michigan could roll into Lincoln, 2-1 and leave 2-2? Is that a possibility?
I think so.
That game's ABC 6:30.
But I think they can roll in 3-0 and leave 4-0.
College football fans win because Oregon, which will be quite the test at the end of September, go all the way across the country to play Penn State. It's going to be a whiteout game. Thankfully, we get that at night on NBC. Now, the games that I don't like, of course, USC at Purdue. Well, that'll be scintillating. The Saturday before Nebraska,
Football
Michigan.
better than no football.
On CBS.
Yuck.
Boy. Hey,
No,
Gary
thank
Danielson,
you.
final year in the booth, and they give him a gift by doing his alma mater against USC.
I like Purdue, though, whatever the spread is in that game. Tell me I get the Trojans traveling all the way to the West Coast in the middle of the year to Purdue, and Purdue gets like 22 points. I'll take that. I like that action.
The one that you're saying earlier, like if you have a TV draft, you find out how people think about you. What does the television networks think about Wisconsin? Because did you see what time kick is in Tuscaloosa?
I did not see what. Let's see. I did not see what time is it.
11 a.m.
Well, I don't disagree with where they're putting that game at all, because I think Wisconsin is going to get beat pretty badly in that game.
11 a.m. It'll be a little bit warm in Tuscaloosa. Not 2:30 on ABC.
Sure.
Not 6:30. It is at 11 a.m. Now, the one game that I think we have missed out on in the kicks times that were announced yesterday is a game that should be, because of where the game is being played this year, should be at night and should only be at night. And you just have to go, okay, we're going to have to put up with it. The backyard brawl being in the afternoon is not good. We need that as a night game.
You need whole feel.
I've been to a backyard brawl game when I was living in Wheeling. And people do not like each other at all. Like at all. Now, Pittsburgh one year ruined what could have been a national championship West Virginia team. But that game, there is so much
animosity, pent-up anger
between the Pitt and West Virginia fan base. They have the chant.
Pitt is feces.
Yeah. That game is at 2:30 Central Time. I want that game. I want that game at night.
You could correct me if I'm wrong. Is Iowa State always 11 a.m.?
No, but
that'll be big noon.
Yeah, Fox's pregame show will be in Ames. It usually has been like a 2:30 game, or I don't know if it's been at night.
I don't remember it being at night.
Last couple of years,
the closest is when they had a weather delay.
It's found its way into the 2:30 slot more regular than most, or a couple of years ago, I think the last time they were in Ames, they might have played at 3. The year that they had the storm delays, but somebody from Fox, like back in February, already said that's an 11 a.m. game. Okay. They already said Fox, they want to go to Ames for that atmosphere.
I like Big Noon for that. I like Big Noon for that a lot. I also like, ND-A&M is going to be awesome on NBC. Notre Dame versus Texas A&M, NBC. I think that's week 3. I think that was kind of known at that point that was
rematch of last year. The only significant game that A&M played, and they lost.
Did Notre Dame play another significant game before that too? That kind of carried.
Here we go.
I'm just saying. It's not like they had the toughest schedule last year, and they were very fortunate that very early in the season they won that game.
Who did Ohio State beat in the national championship game?
Notre Dame. Notre Dame was a good team last year.
I actually forgot. But that's a me.
By the way, sneaky, really good Peacock game. Boston College versus Michigan State. Sneaky good.
Maybe Doug Flutie shows up.
Not great, but sneaky good.
Okay.
You hit all the other points though too. I wrote down. So here's my whole list of games I love. Ohio State, Texas, 11 a.m. Fox. I don't care that's not at night. I like the 11 a.m. kick. I made the joke about Tulane and Northwestern being on ESPNU. LSU Clemson, 6:30 on ABC. That'll be a very big game very early in the season, especially for Clemson, because when Clemson lost that Georgia game at the beginning of the year last season, they paid for it mightily throughout the entirety of the year.
And the winner of that game gets to call their home field Death Valley. It's in the contract.
How do they both become Death Valley? Is it that they just both named it that in the 1800s and like?
Probably not in the 1800s,
sure,
but
Death Valley in California probably must have a word.
I don't know. I don't know how they both mentioned, but they both at night have quite the atmosphere. That'll be a great visual game for ABC.
So, real quick too, though, Nebraska only has one night game currently on the schedule: Houston Christian, or Akron to begin the year. USC maybe could be. I was just looking at the schedule. I was just looking at what the other games are there. Right, Colorado plays. I think they play Houston that week. Or no, Colorado plays Iowa State that week. So that might be a game that could end up being in the night slot. But Ohio State, it's all but confirmed they're going to play Penn State that week in a noon game. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, I think USC, Nebraska, 2 really big programs, 2 really big brands. I think that'll probably end up, just looking at the rest of the schedule, either be 2:30, and I think it might have the best bet to be a home night game. Another home night game.
This is what we do. CBS has the best announcers. Ahead of Fox.
I like Fox.
Ahead of NBC.
I like Fox.
Media response I saw yesterday when Nebraska, Michigan were on CBS. Oh, best theme song, best presentation, best announcers.
I think CBS has best presentation.
Nestler Danielson over Eagle and Blackledge and Gus and Klatt.
I would say so. But I like Gus and Klatt, and I do think that Fox is like the second, third tier, 4 tier guys. I always find myself liking those guys more than the second tier of ESPN or NBC or CBS or anything like that. Like I'll take Kevin Kugler any day of the week over Jack Collinsworth on NBC.
Jimmy?
He should. His own brotherhood has to stick together.
You teed up Jack Collinsworth for Jimmy.
That's exactly why I said it.
I'm here for the Kugler love.
Yeah. Doesn't do college football though.
I know.
The NFL guy.
He's got bigger things going on.
He does. No, Kugler does. He's done college. He's done
He has, but now he's full-time NFL.
Oh, is he full-time NFL now?
He's big time now.
I didn't know that.
Well deserved.
All right, Brandon Vogel will join us in about 15 minutes to touch on a plethora of things, including talk some baseball. Nebraska, North Carolina at 4, or North Carolina to take on Oklahoma at 4 today, and it's 7:00 tonight. KU and Creighton, a game you'll hear right here on the Zone. Happer is back in the hog pen down in Fayetteville, so we'll have the Jays on tonight right here on 1620 The Zone.
Underdog is one of the best places to make picks during the basketball playoffs, which are now down to just a few games left. Well, at least there's one Eastern Conference game, and there's at least one more game on TNT tomorrow night. Thank goodness. Underdog is a leading place to make all your sports picks, and you can play now in your state. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Playing on Underdog is a layup. Get it? Oh, no, these kids miss layups now. Anyway, just download the app and pick higher or lower on player stats like points, assists, and more. And once your picks feel good or adequate, or you just stop overthinking, you can play with as little as $1. If you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. That's a lot more. Tonight on Underdog, well, we'll just stick to baseball. But tomorrow, Halliburton's going to close out the Knicks. As much as I'd like to see a Game 7 just to make Matt sad, I think it's over tomorrow night as the hopeful NBA champion Indiana Pacers, soon to be in a couple of weeks, will do what they have to do. So look at Tyrese Halliburton to rebound from last night. There was no pun intended there. Download the Underdog app and sign up with promo code ZONE to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 of bonus cash when you make your first deposit. That's promo code ZONE. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
All right, baseball. Hey! I got caught by the pregnant pause. All right, if Creighton starts 1-0 today, they beat Kansas, what happens?
They lose to Arkansas.
Okay.
And then they probably get back into my prediction for Creighton is that they play in you have to win 2. You got to win 2 out of 3 in order to make the super regional against Arkansas. That's my prediction. I think they get to the final.
Mm-hmm.
And then.
So Monday.
So they get to Monday.
So Monday baseball down in Fayetteville, Creighton and Arkansas.
And then Arkansas wins, and then Arkansas goes to the super regional.
Shout out Rick Monday.
That's my prediction. I do think Creighton, though, will get to a point where it's like, if you win 2 games, you go to a super regional. Because I think they have the pitching, they have the closer, they have the starter, they have, 4 guys who are hitting over 400 or 300, who've played solid all season long. And this is a team that, since early April, has won 21 of 23 games.
If Creighton goes 0-1, they lose to KU tonight. Are they 2 in the queue?
I don't think this team's too good to go 2 in the queue, in my opinion. If they lose tonight, though, I don't think what I think will happen. I think then Kansas will end up playing Arkansas.
Correct. Again,
to go to the super regional, and Arkansas will still win and go to the super regional.
All right, Nebraska starts 1-0.
Okay.
Like it. You're getting all.
How deep does the pitching go tonight? Because if they go deep and they don't have to use a lot of arms, and they have a lot of arms to use throughout the rest of the week, I think they can beat North Carolina and end up going to the super regional. If it is a all hands on deck night tonight where they have to use Timmerman and Crisco and even Broderick to get out of early trouble, I would then say they don't. And I think the same way for Oklahoma. Weatherspoon can give them great innings tonight and get them really deep. I think Oklahoma sets up pretty well.
So if Nebraska starts 1-0, you think?
I think they're going. If Nebraska starts 1-0, they will also be in the position like Creighton to go to the super regional. They will also be playing baseball to go to a super regional
on Monday.
In Game 7, that would be Game 7.
Every day is Game 7.
You want to call your shot? You got Creighton, Arkansas on Monday.
I'll go North Carolina, Nebraska on Monday as well. I'll go 2 Monday games.
Double dose of Monday baseball.
I'll say 2 Monday games.
Take it to McSportsbook.
And I say Creighton loses that game. And I say North Carolina beats Nebraska too. I say they both lose. But I do think both these teams are built well enough in terms of not only solid bats, but really good pitching, especially on the back half, to make a run. So, but it.
All right, you got baseball on Monday.
They got to win tonight, though. They both have to win tonight, in my opinion, if that's going to happen.
All right, coming up
more runs than the opponent.
Next, Brandon Vogel with some thoughts on baseball. I'll answer one of those questions. We'll do that when we return. 1620 The Zone. Happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. He's been so nice to adjust, and we welcome in from counterread.com, Brandon Vogel. Good Friday morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
We're doing lovely. For a moment there, I could hear the birds.
Oh, I can hear them now.
Yes. CBS Network is taking care of you by piping in the bird sounds this morning.
Yeah, they're really fighting through it because we're also in the middle of rain, so might be a little bit more sporadic than usual.
Yeah. Okay, let's start with this question. So this weekend, because we're almost to June 1, Nebraska will have an Australian punter, Archie Wilson. But he's never punted in college. He joins a team where there's a lot of, don't worry, special teams will be better because of Mike Eckler. Oh, don't worry, the offense will be better because of Dana Holgerson. Oh, don't worry, all of the angst about the defense. Matt Rule usually has good defenses. Can we talk about players? If you had to give me a couple of players that you trust, other than coaches, to be better, where would you start? That you truly trust that they will be part of the step up from 7 to 8 to 9 wins?
Yeah, really good way to frame that. I think Emmett Johnson would be pretty high on my list, and it's tough because he draws so much attention. But I think Raiola would be high on that list for me. Maybe not at the top. Quarterback's different. It's tough. I would expect him to improve. I would put Vincent Shavers in that group, which I think is probably pretty key on defense. Like we saw flashes of the ability and the talent last year. Him taking another step, which is never a guarantee. That's the key thing with this. Is probably essential, I think, for the defensive side to kind of reach some of the thresholds I think they need to for Nebraska to be 8, 9, 10 wins, improve their win total essentially. So there's that group there. The secondary is veteran. Maybe Sierra Wright based on last season and some of what I've seen from him from the offseason. I've been impressed. Is kind of the star back there, for lack of a better term. But you've got a lot of veteran pieces in that group. So that's kind of the immediate circle that comes to mind. But now I'm a little bit worried that I didn't mention anybody on either line.
The Big 12 commissioner stated that they are in favor of the 5+11 method for the college football playoff. The Big 12 in the last 2 seasons have gotten less than 2 teams in the top 16, not just the top 12, just the top 16. If we had a 16-team seeded playoff the last 2 seasons, is this a big year for the Big 12 to get more than 2 teams in the 16 of the college football playoff to prove that they don't need these 2 automatic qualifiers?
Yeah, I think it depends on how long the decision on the immediate future of the playoff takes. I mean, we are so clearly in trial and error mode with this, and like eventually I think we'll sort things out, but the structure of college football is such that you can kind of only take like quarter or half steps to get there. So I was a little bit surprised to see the momentum for the 5+11 model kind of coming out of Florida this week in the SEC meetings, though. I think they were doing a lot of let's float some ideas and see how it goes over. It's an interesting. The future playoff format is a super interesting question to me because if you're a fan of a team in the Big Ten or SEC, like I think you want your team to do well, and then you probably want to see as many good games as you can get. If that's the case, then like the auto bids is probably the way to go because it sets up this whole, because I think both the Big Ten and SEC would go there, of basically flooding conference championship weekend where you have your championship game and then 2 playoff games. That's fun. Like if you're sitting at home watching on TV, those are games with stakes. But I think the public pushback on just locking in, oh, well, we're better than everybody, so we get 4 bids and SEC gets 4 bids or whatever it may be. Maybe there's a little bit of pushback on that. So
sure.
The 5+11 thing kind of rallying is intriguing to me. But I mean, I think practically either way, you're still locking out like more than half of college football based on where those bids have gone historically.
Tony Petitti need to speak about what the Big Ten proposal is or where they stand?
I think so. It's been it's been interesting, and this happens all the time. But the SEC has these meetings, and they let media in, so like they've dominated the week with just like putting their ideas and their thoughts and their wishes out there, and for the Big Ten not to have kind of a similar form is, I think, a misstep in the Big Ten's kind of thinking on that. So whether it's a big sit down interview, that gets aggregated everywhere, like it could be as simple as that. But yeah, it's a little bit odd given where we know both the SEC and the Big Ten have been for the Big Ten to just be kind of idle on this.
The settlement, we're all in assumption that it's going to get signed at this point. But we'll see. It seems like as the weeks go on, the more time goes on, it's like, all right, what the heck is going on? But NIL money is, I think we're all under the understanding that it's probably going to track back a little bit, that there's not going to be as much free market in terms of that stuff. What happens when schools have to tell players, hey, we don't have as much access to NIL money as we did in the past because of these new rules. We can't necessarily pay you as much money this year as you were making in years prior. What happens if that occurs?
Yeah, I mean, if it happens across the board, I think those are tough conversations to have, but maybe it doesn't put you at an increased attrition risk, because under the current setup, that would be like, hey, here's what we can do for you. Like, if somebody's out there offering you more, like, I can't tell you not to explore that opportunity. But if those opportunities are just decreased, then I think you'd have a chance to hold on to your guys. Like, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I've always been under the assumption, like, transferring schools, even if you've got an entire team who is invested in getting that done for you, like it's a big change still. So if that were the case, and this would be mostly, I think, kind of veteran guys who maybe not old enough to remember a pre-NIL era, but old enough to like be aware that, hey, you used to just get a scholarship. So I don't know that it would mean major changes for rosters if that happens. They would just be kind of uncomfortable situations of like, hey, you're getting a pay cut through no fault of your own. We thought this was the system going forward, and then it all of a sudden changed.
Brandon Vogel from counterread.com joining us. I thought the College Football Hall of Fame had a bad day yesterday. Actually, I think it's an embarrassing day yesterday that they dropped from a win percentage of 600 to 595 so that they can include Mike Leach. Embarrassing day for the College Hall of Fame. Great day for the college football fan that realizes Mike Leach did this while he was working in Lubbock and Pullman, and his contribution to football. But I think you and I have talked about this before, because there's another guy that now we have to discuss about getting in that has been limited by a hard cutoff win percentage for coaches. Why is that one of their metrics, you think?
I mean, I think in terms of simplicity, like setting a number, it makes it, well, it makes it a lot easier for the Hall of Fame committee. In the case of Leach, like I didn't have an issue with it, because when I think about the Football Hall of Fame, been there multiple times. If anyone's ever in Atlanta, it is worth the trip. They do a really good job there. In the case of Leach, like it's there's no question to me that I think he belongs there in my mind. I don't know that changing the number was necessary. Otherwise, maybe you just give an exemption to do that. When you talk about the air raid and kind of the impact on modern day football, you can make a pretty compelling case. In terms of what that number was at 600, like that's a pretty significant number. You know, you get to the 700s or even the 800s, you're talking about the best in the game. You're talking about Osborne, um, Urban Meyer, et cetera, in terms of winning percentage, and that's easy. Like there's really little question with those guys. Um, I don't know what Kirk Ferentz is off the top of my head, but he's an interesting one. A guy who's will become the all-time leader in Big Ten coaching wins this upcoming season, passing Woody Hayes. And Woody Hayes is one of those no doubters, but it's an interesting kind of sliding scale of like, where do you set that number to really get guys who they won more than you would have expected, which I think for me would be kind of the baseline expectation.
So Kirk Ferentz would slide in with the new change. He's at 598. Now, I look at it, I think Mike Leach should have his own wing. You're absolutely right about Atlanta. When they moved out of South Bend and they moved it to Atlanta, where more people could access it, they've done a really, really great job, and it's well worth it. But Mike Leach, because of his contributions to the game, should have his own wing. I mean, look at what he has done to the game of football, but also look at his coaching tree. Now I'm going to give you another guy that does not have a win percentage that would get him into the Hall of Fame, but has an impact on college football. You can't tell the story of Miami and you can't tell the story of Louisville without Howard Schnellenberger.
Yeah, that's another really good one. As we talk through this, I hadn't thought about it, but it almost makes the case for a innovators wing. Those people who had like undeniable contributions to that. And we don't think of Schnellenberger in that way in terms of like offense or defense or tactical brilliance. But that's not the entirety of the game. And being able to go to a place like Miami at the time that he did and say, no, this can be something, is innovative. And it did become something, and it's still something today because of that. So that would be actually, if I were to go there again 2 weeks from now, or if they announced they were opening an innovation wing, I would go down specifically for that.
I think obviously we can agree that Dylan Raiola and Emmett Johnson are probably the X factors of this offense this upcoming season for Nebraska football. But do you have a wild card? Do you have a guy on the offense that you're like, man, if maybe I don't really know for sure what he's going to do, but if he reaches his full potential, this offense could be greater than maybe what we anticipate?
Yeah, I think it's got to be one of the pass catchers. I mean, I think that's the thing. Back to where we started of like guys I feel good about on offense. You mentioned Emmett and Dylan, and they were in my group. The wild card here is, do you have the type of receivers that can change a game occasionally? So Ja'Cory Barney might be an interesting one. I know we could all jump to the transfers first because they're, unknown and in a Nebraska uniform at least. And I think Isaiah Hunter is pretty intriguing to me for that reason. But Barney, had a great season. I look at a guy like Carter Nelson, which would be a little bit deeper down the wild card deck, but he was one of my unknowables last season. It's like, well, what if this guy just comes out and has a big freshman season? He had a good freshman season, but it's kind of the same question carrying over of that guy. That's somebody who looks like and needs to be a weapon for Nebraska. So if you got 500 yards out of him all of a sudden, I think that significantly changes things. And it's addressing that question for me offensively of like, hey, do you have the pass catchers to really challenge the best Big Ten teams?
If I tell you that Nebraska baseball hasn't made it out of the first weekend in 20 years, your reaction is what?
I mean, on
you
its
need
face,
to add some context to it.
Well, I mean,
20 years ago was Big 12.
Yeah, on its face, it was a surprise. It's a surprise, but like having, covered or at least consumed most of those over that span, I'm kind of like, oh, yeah, that's right. I went to that Clemson regional to cover it when they went however many years ago that was. And, it was just, it seemed like if I recall correctly, like they kind of weren't really in either of those games. And, it was just that thing of, and this was the Big Ten era, where it's like, wow, maybe the Big Ten it isn't getting Nebraska ready for this next stage the way that maybe the Big 12 could have.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, with this team, like I didn't hate the Chapel Hill regional draw. You obviously got the game with Oklahoma, which is fun for nostalgic reasons, and what it took for them to get here. This is a team you feel good at least about rolling the dice with, and we'll see. Like I think a successful regional for them, like get a win today and be able to kind of keep playing to advance. Because to your point, it has been a shockingly long time.
We found out yesterday that Nebraska will be playing Minnesota on a Friday at 7 p.m. in what basically will be like a standalone national game in terms of eyes being on it. Do you think that there is now added importance to that game, which was already an important game, but do you think now that it's on national TV that it only really is competing with Louisville and Miami for viewership, that there is now another layer to this game, or is it's all the same? Doesn't matter if it's on Friday or Saturday.
No, I think it adds a layer to it for sure. I already had that game as probably like the fulcrum of Nebraska's season. That's just how I felt about it. I feel the two teams are pretty evenly matched. Nebraska hasn't had a ton of success against Minnesota lately. So that was always the one of like, this feels like a bit of a tipping point, and it comes almost directly at the middle of the season. Now, if you play that game at 2:30 or 11 a.m. on a Saturday, yeah, if it's good, some people like casual fans will tune in. Now you'll get a bunch more of those. So I think the opportunity for Nebraska and Minnesota both increased a little bit, because not only should it be like a really important game in the grand scheme of the Big Ten, now you're going to have additional people watching it. So when I look at it from a Nebraska perspective, it was always super important. Now it's super important, plus an opportunity, I think, to kind of show people where you're at in year 3.
Mm-hmm. All right, what do we have coming up on counterread.com as we go into the month of June, which will be pretty important in Lincoln?
Yeah, I mentioned writing about Carter Nelson last year. Going to start digging into some of the, I think, key unknowables for the season. So I've done the best job I can in terms of covering, I think, the things we can compartmentalize about football. We'll of course have a baseball recap from the weekend and see what happens there, and got a few other kind of long-term projects looking at special teams specifically, now that we can maybe lock in a key piece of that. So that's what's coming in the weeks ahead.
Hey, great stuff. I always appreciate the 6 a.m. email from you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
That's Brandon Vogel from counterread.com. How about Kirk Ferentz, who could be the all-time winningest coach in the Big Ten and wouldn't be eligible to be in the Hall of Fame until yesterday when they put in the Mike Leach rule that bumped it from 60% to 59.5%, and Kirk Ferentz is at 59.8%. Nobody thought about that, huh?
Well, we talked about the importance, like in December, about the fact that he needed 9 wins to guarantee himself a spot in the College Football Hall of Fame, and now that kind of just washed to the side at this point. I think I've always thought the whole automatic win percentage for college football coaches is so stupid. All right, like you don't need to necessarily win 60% of your games to be a Hall of Fame coach. You just don't. Right. And like there are even some coaches who could create legacies that maybe eventually get them to the Hall of Fame, but because they had to start off a little bit rougher with worse programs, right, and build themselves up, they're going to have to dig themselves out of a hole to do that because of, how you have to build your program. So I always thought that was stupid.
So be eligible in 2027. Ah, dang it. He's not going to be here. The Pirate will be upstairs. But that would have been, bad for the College Football Hall of Fame. Great for the college football fan. But I always do this with Hall of Fames. Can you tell the story without? You can't tell the story of college football without Mike Leach.
You cannot.
I love
Brandon's idea about the contributor wing. Because Howard Schnellenberger is in the same spot.
There'd be no FAU football without Howard Schnellenberger.
No.
People do forget that.
I mean, Miami football would not be what they were.
I think every Hall of Fame, and this is a half joke, half serious, should have like a weird things wing. Like, here are weird occurrences or funny little niche instances that happened in our sport.
All right. Coming up at 9 o'clock, Mike Schaefer stops by, Matt Verzal as well. We'll get back into some baseball that'll take place in Fayetteville and Chapel Hill with some interest around here. Plus some emails and some tweets that are rolling in on this Friday edition of Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. All right, TV note. Did you see the Week 0 game that is on CBS? So there's 4 games that are on national TV on week 0. Farmageddon in Dublin is number 1. K-State, Iowa State. Did you guys happen to see the game that was announced yesterday by CBS at 6:30?
I see it. I see it.
Odd?
Very. But, I mean...
It's Stanford, Hawaii. So it's on the island. And it is starting at 12:30 there, if I'm doing my central time zone to Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
It's just a weird...
It's
like, it's kind of a cool time slot, but 6:30 on CBS, like right after the nightly news on a Saturday.
Stanford at
Saturday
Hawaii.
in August. Yes. Now, sickos will watch it, but it's
not sickos. I mean, it's 6:30 on CBS. You know,
sickos are going to be watching 2 bad football teams.
Sickos will just be watching football. I just want to. I just want to watch football.
We are a safe space for those people.
I'll have Fresno State and Kansas on one TV and Stanford playing Hawaii on the other TV.
Why do you guys like week 0 so much? They're at KU.
Couldn't tell you. They like it. So
that is the reopening of the stadium, correct?
I thought you were going to ask me why do I like week 0 so much. I just need football.
We'll be there. I don't know. We've got to see about our tickets and the policy for infants, but we'll see.
I just need grown men hitting each other.
Wait a minute. You're going to take you're going to be young.
Well, she has headphones on the thing. We'll see.
They'll be like
it's
3 months old.
You know something I don't? 3 months old.
Oh, I don't know. I have no clue.
She's here already? Damn.
I have no clue. I have no idea. She'll be younger than that.
Yeah, I know, because you're going to come wipe diapers here or whatever for the Bears Cowboys game.
I'll help out.
Yeah. Is that a bet between you two?
That's a bet.
No, I invited her, so you can come watch it with me, but we're going to put you to work.
The bear,
Uncle Matt.
I'm in the nursery room, like holding the little like toy that basically is for cats, but also for babies.
Yeah,
just shaking it.
No, I don't. Though
Cowboys scored again.
She won't go early in the season, but she does have red booties for the Mizzou game because she's going to be raised right.
Now it would be even better because so your week 0 games at 5:30 on Fox, Big Fox.
Yes, Big Fox.
Damn, you want to get some runtime? Play week 0,
and that I think that's actually to go back to your question. That's part of it.
Big Fox is carrying a Fresno State KU game, and Big CBS is carrying Stanford Hawaii. Love you, long time college football.
Hey, can we have a little bit of love for Sam Houston and Western Kentucky?
No, but I'd watch that too.
I would watch that ahead of Stanford Hawaii.
Well, that has the lowest. That is the second. Well, actually, these lines are pretty tight. K-State -3.5, KU -14.5, Western Kentucky -8.5, Stanford -2.5. It's actually pretty good.
Now, you want to indoctrinate the newest addition of the Chavez family?
Yeah, new roommate.
Will you go into Columbia on September 6th
no.
for an afternoon game?
I don't need liquor bottles thrown at her. My good buddy, someone you know, David Lawrence, was ready to go fight some fans if they hit his kid back in the day.
Now, what are you going to do? Because you're going to be a little mixed because you're Black Friday.
I know.
KU and Utah are playing at the same time. They're on either ABC or ESPN down in Lawrence.
Yeah, they,
we got 2 TVs for a reason.
Well, we'll be at one game, and the tiny one probably will be a fan by then.
By then, yeah.
Like we'll be going to games.
Sure.
Yeah, unless the weather's awful. But hopefully they got that internet worked up because last year at Arrowhead, my wife was able to have the Nebraska game on while watching Colorado get beat. It's actually a great day for the family. Everybody was happy, and she had the radio broadcast on, and she was like Kevin Harlan calling both games. Same stadium.
We actually called 2 games at once one time
in that stadium.
I love that you aren't gonna wait a year or anything like that, or wait for them to grow up. You know, be able to walk. It's just like, nope, right out the gate. We're Jayhawks fans. We're gonna go and watch some football, baby.
Well, I mean, her father sometimes wear a diaper at these games. So what separates her? We're practically the same person.
Hey, don't judge.
I have some friends that I met here in Omaha that are football season ticket holders. They took their kid to Tempe last year, and it was 106 at kickoff.
I saw the
kid was a champ.
I saw the construction going on in Evanston last weekend.
Oh, how's it looking for our
It looks so good.
Yeah,
it looks so good.
But on the college football 26, you're playing Northwestern. They're still playing at Ryan Field.
I'm okay. I don't need them to put the Lakefront Stadium in there. I'm going to tell you something right now. When I'm kicking field goals and EA 26, I don't need the swirling wind of the lakefront.
Why are you kicking field goals to begin with?
I always kick field goals. You got to take your points, man. Sometimes you got to take your medicine in that game. It's a competitive game.
Take that
touchdown. In a video game, you settle for field goals?
What do you mean settle for field goals?
You're not going for it on 4th down?
No,
4th and 2, I think I'll punt here and play field position.
No, I punt too. You L1 for the backspin, pin him on the 5-yard line. Then we go with a linebacker mid blitz to try and get that safety. I mean, what do you mean settle for field goals? We got to take points. It's a points game, and I got to hit the over.
And there it is. Gambling on video games.
I'm kidding.
There it is.
I've only ever gambled once on video games. I was watching my two buddies play, and I was listening.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah,
I was watching them play. I was watching them.
That's
play.
why you're meant to work here.
And then I was on a call, like I was on in the game in the party chat with another guy who wasn't playing, and I go, "Hey, I'll give you Dave minus 4.5 right here," and I won.
I can't judge because I would have played. I would have got in on that with you.
Isn't that fun when you like put spreads on your friends playing video games?
Oh yeah, I remember having money.
Like it's not hundreds of dollars. You just put $10 on it, and then you get to get mad at your friends if they lose you the bet.
Speaking of video games, betting, and all of that stuff, whatever happened to Sketch?
What do you mean? What happened to Sketch? He's still around. Come on, brother. Tuesday. He just threw a watermelon at his girlfriend on stream the other day.
Okay.
Like they were having a barbecue. She's like, "Oh, I'll go and get the watermelon." He goes, "Okay." So he ran over to the kitchen, and she was probably standing 25 feet away. And he picks up the watermelon. And he goes, "Hey, catch!" And he throws it at her, and then it just fell right in front of her, exploded everywhere.
Does his 15 minutes of fame expire?
I think he's on
special teams, special players.
He's on the back.
Tuesday.
He's on the back half of it, but he had such a legendary run that if you still to this day, like you show a picture of him, you know, oh, that's Sketch. You know. Come on, brother. Check Tuesday, brother. Omaha, brother.
You a Carrie Underwood fan?
Sure.
I think it was a yes or no question.
Yes, I am. I've never listened to a Carrie Underwood song, and I'm like, this sucks. You know, she makes good music.
So some might say that there's a guy, Connor McDavid's going to play in the Stanley Cup Final for the second straight year against Florida, starting on Wednesday, by the way.
Oh, nobody.
They call him McJesus. Some might say what he's been able to do throughout his entire Nebraska career with the pitching staff, they might have a different kind of name for Rob Childress. But you know, like Carrie Underwood said, had that song, Jesus Take the Wheel?
Sure.
Rob Childress take the wheel this weekend. I think, especially today, see what I'm doing here? Rob Childress, I'm going to give you a key for today. Rob Childress is more important today than Will Bolt, and might be more important this weekend than Will Bolt.
Why is that?
Because it's something you were alluding to. Whatever happens today, Jackson Brockett pitching. He handcuffed Oregon on Saturday, going 6 innings, only gave up 1 run. He's facing a team that is not a juggernaut at the plate. You were rattling off some stats earlier. I think they hit 274 as a team.
Oklahoma.
That sound about right?
Yeah. Well, they only have 2 guys who hit over 300 this season.
So, winning sets the tone. I mean, being 1-0 is a huge deal.
It is
like a huge
massive
deal. So, but here's the deal. Why I think that Rob Childress is more important than Will Bolt. Because if you are, North Carolina's really good.
Yeah.
Okay. Oklahoma is good.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to play some baseball. Nebraska is not going to roll into Chapel Hill and say, yep, 3-0. We're good. Tuesday. See you back in Lincoln. So they're going to have to probably play some games. They're going to have some crooked numbers put up. There's going to be some long games. There could be some delays. So if you are the pitching coach and you've been here before, and you're starting Jackson Brockett today, and I love that Ty Horn's going to pitch tomorrow because you got to give him that extra day. Now used to throwing 120 pitches, and he would have been okay against Michigan State, but it was a do or die game, and you pulled him early because you didn't want things to go sideways. But Ty Horn has been pretty effective at the back end of the year, just like Jackson Brockett. So today becomes an interesting situation. Your bullpen was great in Omaha.
Great.
17 2/3 innings, 2 earned runs, only allowed. Luke Broderick was fantastic. you're going to have to manage from the Brodricks to the Christos and the Timmermans, because I think you hold Timmerman and Walsh because you may have to play 3 and 4 games, or in your scenario, to get to Monday, you have them playing on Monday. So I think the way that Rob Childress decides if Brockett is starting to or if he's feeling it, how long you stretch him. Those are going to be key decisions that'll be inside of the game, but how they manage the starters' innings, but more importantly, the plethora of guys that they're going to bring out of the pen.
Sure.
Some guys they should not, and they should just leave in the pen like they did here in Omaha. I think that's Rob Childress is the guy this weekend. Doesn't mean, his pitcher's got to pitch,
sure,
but he's also got to help with the right decisions on when a guy, you're in a gots-to-go situation, or when, hey, stay out there, or walk out and you go to the bullpen. Those are that's especially in the regionals,
sure,
where you might play more than 3 games. Like in a super, you're only guaranteed the max 3. You got to be really good with that pitching coach and his decisions that he makes on matchups and who's coming in and who's not coming in.
There's 6 arms, 7 arms that Nebraska trusts implicitly at this point in the season. I think if Jackson Brockett goes 7 today, 7-8 innings, puts on a similar performance he did against Oregon, I think they have a really, really good shot against the Super Regional. Because
he's pitching that long,
I mean,
well, I'm not going to say Super Regional. I'm going to say they won today.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I don't. If he's pitching in the 7th inning, that bodes really well for Nebraska. But I don't think that means anything about next week, in my opinion.
No. I mean, getting there, winning this regional. If he's able to go 7 today, because now you have fresh arms, flexibility. You have also too, you just mentioned it, right? How long do you keep him in there? How long do you pull him out? How are we managing the rest of the weekend? Well, if he goes 7 innings tonight and then you hand it off to Broderick, right, who has 1 or 2 or whatever, and you still could probably maybe use Broderick depending on how many pitches he pitches if this were to happen, right, in this hypothetical. Well, now when we get into Saturday, when we get into Sunday, he's going to have more flexibility to pull guys earlier. And not going to, if this guy doesn't have it today, we know because we have these plethora of arms in the back end that we can just throw in the Tucker Timmerman. We can throw in the Drew Crisco. We can bring in Casey Dice because we have those arms available to us. If Jackson Brockett gets shelled today and this turns into hey, we got to use 5 pitchers in order to win this game, even if they end up winning, the difficulty of getting to the Super Regional is so much higher than if he plays well, which is why it's so key today if he can have a really good performance.
And Brockett's been good. Last 6 starts, 4-0, sub-2 ERA, looked in command. I'm sure compared to some of the Friday starters that Oklahoma sees in the SEC, Brockett's velo will not be the same. But at the end of the day, Nebraska's got to score some runs as well. They got.
Well, Witherspoon can throw.
Bolt ball. Can Bolt ball get you more than 4 runs in a game in the Super
against a guy who throws 99? I think it's.
Well, I mean, Malachi Witherspoon is. I know his brother is the one that gets all the love, but he struck out 10 a couple weeks ago in 6 1/3 against Texas. So Nebraska's going to strike out, but when they get those opportunities, I mean, it's going to have to be a low-scoring game. But can Nebraska score more than 4 runs? Because I think Brockett will shove enough today to give you a chance.
Can they hit better than 250 with runners in scoring position?
That'll be the question, or they have to create runs. All right, quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about Creighton, who plays tonight against KU, game that you'll hear here on the Zone. That's at 7 in Fayetteville, Nebraska, and Oklahoma go at 4. Remember last time Nebraska and Oklahoma played in football?
That didn't go well.
Gus got sick.
Gus did get. How weird was that day? Frost had just gotten fired. Gus got sick in the booth. Urban Meyer was allegedly going to be the head coach at Nebraska.
There were people chanting for him in the student section when he was on the sideline.
God. Yeah. I remember the year before down there. Cam Jurgens way downfield, got a 15-yard penalty. Guy makes a catch that shows up on a T-shirt. Nebraska has great throwbacks. Just make it stop,
just
please.
A weird
make it
2
stop.
years.
All right, we're back with more Gary and Matt after this in 1620 The Zone. All right, just taking the pulse of the room here. There are a lot of people that wanted the college football playoff. We got the college football playoff. We have 4.
Very happy.
And we went 12, probably going 16. And you could argue in good faith, I would think, for expansion, at least to a point. Baseball playoff expansion met with some grumbling.
No, I'm cool with what they got for baseball playoffs. Are you saying
you wouldn't have liked the Giants being left out in '93 with 103 wins?
There was some grumbling, but
Sure.
We've moved on. I don't know that I have met a single person that said, you know what, I want a larger NCAA basketball tournament. Again, I know I sit at home and I think, God, this tournament would be so much better if they just had 4 more teams.
Honestly, I want that like I want another infection.
But so I've never sat around and done that. And give me 4 more. But here's the problem. This is coming because everything's about money.
Yep.
And they have us.
Yep.
They have us because we'll go, okay, man, Tuesday and Wednesday could look a little bit different. Still going to watch. Still going to fill out a bracket.
Yep.
We can't do anything about
it.
There's no hope. They got us. Even though we think it's not a good idea, they got us.
This applies to the other discussion.
It will.
They got
Nothing
us.
will ever ruin the NCAA tournament. But I will.
If we go north of the 70s.
We go back 5 years.
Well, they've only added it's been 40, and over the course of the last 41 years, they've only added 4 teams.
Yeah.
Now, yes, it will ruin it if we go north of adding 4.
Okay. But if we add 4 more right now.
So we'd be at 72.
We're still going to be fine. We're still going to watch the tournament. We're still going to fill out the bracket. But I am going to be slightly eye-rolled, right, when the bubble gets even bigger, and that there are teams that very clearly have had opportunity after opportunity to make the tournament, and they failed to make those out. They failed to cash in on those opportunities, and then they still make the tournament. Like I'm still going to think like there's an asterisk on the 69th, 70th, 71st, and 72nd team. I'm still going to watch the early rounds of the tournament and kind of roll my eyes a little bit and be like, I remember when there only used to be this amount of games, right? Like if we get to like 80 or like 90 teams, okay, then it's like, dude, what are we doing?
Then
like,
that answers your question. Exactly. That would ruin the tournament.
That would ruin the tournament. But like just for this 72, like it won't ruin it, but I am going to be slightly annoyed by it. And I'm also going to wonder, like, how, like, do we know what the dollar amount is? Like, how much money would they really be gaining if they added 4 more teams?
Money and power.
2 more games?
Money and power. SEC and the Big Ten thinking they can get more teams in.
Can we ever just sacrifice, though, money for, like, to just keep tradition, or just to not break something, or to not ruin something, or to not overcomplicate something? Like, for once, just once, can the NCAA be like, you know what, guys, we have money on the table, but we're not going to take it because it's already good enough, and we know you like it, and we care about you. Just once.
You just get here? You just arrive?
I just did. Yeah, I just got here. I know it will never happen, but I'm just. That's my plea.
As long as you realize you have no choice and there's no hope, you'll be okay.
I do recognize that, and I'm glad working with you, I've recognized that, and it's one of those things where it's like I can only yell and scream and hope for so much. It'd just be nice though.
Now you walk in my shoes.
So you knew this was coming. I mean, Sankey doesn't like the Big East getting more teams than like that. Those conferences that get 2 teams in mid-major. Now, if you're Creighton, you probably like this because maybe that gets that Big East team in.
Yeah.
That, the Big East hasn't had a good run of representation. Now, they've done well when they've gotten to the tournament for the most part.
Well, they had 5 last year.
But getting more teams in, so they're probably like, yeah, let's go to 72, let's go to 76. I think if you're in the Big Ten, hell yeah, because this is built for you.
Sure.
Because the Big Ten can go from 12 to 14, maybe even a 15th team thinking, here we go, because we got the people that are pushing this are the people that represent the big conferences, and especially the Big Two. Now, I'll tell you somebody who I don't think it makes a difference to, because a lot of this has been, look at the mid-majors.
Sure.
Not all mid-majors are created equal. We have levels of mid-majors. The Missouri Valley Conference and the Summit League are not created the same. And the Summit League, which still fights at being a strong men's basketball conference, and like the Missouri Valley Conference, which goes all in on men's basketball, the Summit League has this hesitation of handing out participation trophies to everybody in the league that, we got to take care of all these other sports. No, if you'd make yourself a strictly men's basketball and see that you can benefit from possibly getting a automatic and an at-large, what that would do for you. So from the Summit League, I don't know that it makes a difference because they're on the middle tier of the mid-majors, where if I'm the Missouri Valley Conference, I'm like, ooh, this could be really, really good because we could get our Arch Madness team in, and by chance, if that's a team that is pulls an upset as a Cinderella, that team that had a Drake, like if Drake would have gotten beat last year in St. Louis, maybe they don't make the tournament, but they win in as 11. If I'm the Missouri Valley Conference, I'm like, okay, I'm very interested in this. So I think Creighton, Nebraska, all for it. Omaha, I don't think it makes a difference with the way the Summit League currently is for men's basketball. It's a one-bid league, and I don't foresee that changing anytime soon.
Would there be a conference that's not mid-major that you would consider to not like this? Like, I don't think anyone in the Big 12 is against this. I don't think anyone in the SEC would really be against it. I think if we're just talking about pure money and qualification, if
the Power Five, and I throw the Big East in there, the Power Five, all for it, because they're thinking that's us. The extra four, that's us. They'll tell the mid majors that they got a chance, but the Power Four are built for us.
I think that this is one of those situations where the only people who really are against doing this are the fans, which it would be nice if every once in a while how the fans feel would be taken into greater consideration.
Oh, come on, that'll never happen.
You're new here.
I know I am. But it's just like the voice of the people at this point, because who are the ones giving you the money? Who are the ones watching the product? Who are the ones who are paying your bills? Who are the ones? There's a reason why these TV rights deals are so high. It's because
you don't have
people
season tickets to anything, do you?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet, but
you're new here.
It has nothing to do with being new, and everything to do with the fact that over the last 5 years, every single decision has been made in spite of the fans. Has been made in spite of
been a lot longer than 5 years.
Speaking of the fans, are fans convinced that Creighton baseball is good? And
yeah,
I say this from the standpoint, and I'm not, and that's not me. I'm leading that into a question. You know that I'm a fan of this roster. They've won 21-23.
This show loves Ed. Ed's a good dude.
But yesterday was kind of interesting. So Ed went to bat for the Big East. If I'm Creighton and I'm Mark Kingston, I'm thinking, are we losing our voice for how to fix Big East baseball? Because
2 times
Big East baseball hurts Creighton. But I think it hurts you from this standpoint. KU is a really good team.
Yeah.
Okay. They're 19th in the country.
Yankees of Kansas.
They hit
their weighted runs created plus. I think they're 19th in the country.
They're 12th in home runs. They've hit 100 home runs and they've walked 363 times this season.
No, just means more.
But because you play in the Big East, Creighton's strength of schedule is 196.
Oof.
And they've only beaten 2 teams that are currently in the field of 64. So while we go, hey man, I think Creighton's pretty good. I wonder if other people are convinced that they're good. And they're going to that's a Big East team.
Well, this is another. I don't like doing the whole cross sport comparison all the time, but look at Big East basketball. When UConn won that championship, their first championship, they didn't get a lot of teams in the NCAA tournament, and Dan Hurley had to go up at the podium and say, "This is a joke. We should have more Big East teams in this tournament." And then his performance and UConn's performance had to end up elevating the conference. It kind of now falls on Creighton's shoulders in a way to beat Kansas and to make a run at Arkansas.
Because you're right. Because if you don't, people are like, Big East shouldn't have gotten anybody in.
Exactly.
Did they throw Pop Isaacs?
And
out
they
there?
won't doubt the fact that they only let one Big East team in. Now, if Creighton ends up going to the Super Regional, and then you start looking at all of the, Xavier gave them a damn good run for their money. UConn gave them a damn good run for money. You start questioning, maybe these teams are good enough. But that's a tough place to be as a program. The fact that now the fate of your conference, or part of the fate of your conference, or how your conference is looked, is solely on your shoulders. That's not fun. It doesn't sound like a good time.
That's why you got to make some noise about. We got to get out of this mid-major baseball league and make a better mid-major baseball league. Ed's idea of The regional conference is brilliant. Or don't play Big East teams until you get to the conference tournament.
Or just schedule a harder non-con.
And they will next year.
There's that too.
But they're fighting that. The people go, Creighton's got some gaudy numbers, and man, Nolan Sailors might be the most important player of the 4 teams that are in Fayetteville. But there's people that go, I don't know if they're good. I'm convinced they're good. I've seen them play enough that I think Cancelari's starting today, and if you're able to stretch it and you're able to get to the back end where you get Went and Langrel, and the way they have it set up, and they can score some runs, that they could cause some issues this weekend. I'm convinced they're good, but I get the argument why people go, I don't know about that. The 2 wins against teams that are in the field of 64,
that's not enough.
That's a little bit of a Creighton thing, but it's also a Big East thing. Be better.
1,000,000%.
All right, Mike Schaefer's coming up next on 1620 The Zone. All right. Let's welcome in Mike Schaefer.
I think he's calling.
This has turned into a pattern. I think Schaefer's mad at me.
Why?
Because I asked him if he wanted to like go out and like get a drink sometime. And he was like, yeah, we'll go ahead. Like, we'll do it. He's like, this is what we'll have to do. And then I just left him on red. Like, I never followed up with.
Would you like to then respond to him now?
Hey, Mike, how are you, man?
Doing well. It's nice to talk to you guys on this Friday. I think we've missed the last few.
Yeah, I want to apologize to you because I reached out to you about going out and I left you on red. And that's on me. That's me being a bad friend. I can be better.
No, you're good. I just assumed when I informed you that I didn't have much going on that you're like, all right, well, you might actually take me up on this. So I don't want to do it. So I'll just pretend like it didn't happen. So
you were like, I had to go to Lincoln for you, and very few people I go to Lincoln for, Schaefer. Unfortunately, you're just you're not in the short list.
I don't know
yet.
if you know this, Matt, but I live in Lincoln.
Yeah, I do know that.
A lot of time in Omaha.
I do know that.
Spend a fair amount of time in Omaha. I will a lot in the next month, but I do actually live in Lincoln. We'll try to find time for that beer though. If you want, we could try to meet in Ashland. There's a pretty good sports bar called BW's. We could call that neutral territory if you want to meet there.
I will. If you're being serious, I will actually do that. That sounds like a phenomenal time to me.
Yeah, it's
there we go to the show.
Hey, go to
Ashland. It's not really a secret.
So. Yeah, grab some ice cream at Blue Jays and you'll be good. Go have a little barbecue. You'll be fine. It'll be a nice little date for you.
I'm having a barbecue on Saturday.
If you want to get a cider, we can go to Glacial Hill right down the street.
Ooh, I'll do that with you,
good
Schaefer.
Call. That's a good spot. I've only been there once. That's
it's downtown Ashland's a pretty neat place. I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoy going there a few times a year.
Can you imagine when they build the big lake, what's going to happen to that community?
I can't. Do you think they'll go from 3 art galleries downtown to like 5?
Might go to 6. I mean, they're going to be hopping. They're going to be people who are going to travel from all over the country to come to Big Lake.
There's a lot of money in that community.
Yes,
I think Big Lake would bring more money.
Hey, Big Lake would match the big houses that are being built in that community right now.
About it. You think that comes with big property taxes?
Oh, it does. I mean, now in Ashland Greenwood, then it's going to have to move to Class B, and then it'll make B tougher. And then they're going to have to recruit Lincoln and Omaha. It's actually ideal for them.
What's property tax?
I don't know what the exact property tax rate is. I'm not sure if this is that kind of radio show.
Yes. We could turn into Dave Ramsey.
Yes. Mike, tell me about your financial situation now. You're in a mortgage. How long is the mortgage? What do we want to do with that?
Well, my financial situation was a lot worse before I got married and then installed a household CFO that is not me. And things got a lot better at that point in time. Man, also, a second income was really nice. Shelby will have to work forever, but I get to do what I want. That's important.
What's your combined income? Good Lord. We got to cut you down.
How does Nebraska baseball make it 6 in a row today in Chapel Hill?
I think they just follow the recipe that worked for them largely most of last week, which was just getting contributions up and down the lineup. I mean, when Hogan Haligso had kind of the best week of his season, you get Devin Nunez hitting a home run in the championship game. You've got guys that are just performing all throughout the lineup. Brett Stokes comes in off the bench cold, hadn't played in a little while, and he ends up contributing with a big hit. Like it just the thing that fascinates me about Nebraska baseball when we talk about the Big Ten tournament is that there's Gabe Swanson, and we know about Gabe Swanson.
Sure,
but it's like everybody else on that roster comes alive. You get the best pitching performance out of Ty Horn. Jackson Brockett pitches fantastic in that stadium for whatever reason. You get Luke Broderick with 6 huge innings, and I think he should have been the MVP of the whole tournament. I thought his 6 innings were huge for Nebraska to be able to pull off what they did. So they need that as they go to Chapel Hill. They need, in order to get by Oklahoma and to have the opportunity to play presumably North Carolina, no offense to Holy Cross, you've got to get contributions up and down the lineup. You've got to be able to put runs up on the board. I don't know that Nebraska is going to be able to just prevent teams from scoring. They did a very nice job of that with Oregon and UCLA this past week, and those are national hosts or regional hosts. But I think the biggest thing for me is if that lineup continues to contribute 1 through 9, Nebraska's a pretty solid team. Like there's They have the ability to wear out pitching staffs. They have the ability to put pressure on you in a variety of different ways. I just think they are very dangerous if they can play collectively as a group. If it has to be get a couple guys on and hope that Gabe Swanson sends one over the wall, that's not going to be a recipe for them to win this weekend. If they can get big performances from the 7, 8, 9 and turn it over to Riley Silva and Robbie Bolin and Swanson and all the rest, that's where I think Nebraska is at their best.
I think it's a week from today, we will have football in Memorial Stadium in the Battle at the Boneyard, the 7-on-7 Adidas-sponsored spring tournament. In terms of like a recruiting perspective, what do you think that this could potentially develop for Nebraska?
Well, if the teams come in that are expected to be in, and everything's very fluid, I think that's kind of the important thing to remember with this. Mm-hmm. But if they get 80% of what they're expecting, there's going to be like 25, 30 high-end players, some possibly even more. I mean, guys that haven't even been identified yet. Like, that's kind of the cool thing. Sure. You're going to have a lot of 27s and 28s that are going to have the opportunity to put their name out there, as well, and be seen by Nebraska staff and have this opportunity too. But there's a whole bunch of people that, are already high-end players that are expected to be out. And so you've got players coming from Atlanta and from Miami and from Los Angeles. And they've got the best players out of the Midwest in terms of Indianapolis have a 7-on-7 all-star team that does very well. You've got teams coming from the Pacific Northwest. They've got a team coming from Mississippi. You got 2 local teams. I mean, there is just a ton of talent that is expected to be out here next week for an event that, to me, more than just the individual names of the players, the bigger thing is that Nebraska was able to pull this off. Like, this is not an event that anyone can just do. Mm-hmm. They were able to find a way to work within the parameters and the framework provided to have this event, and no one else is doing it. The only place in the country this June that will have a 7-on-7 and will have this many talented players competing against each other is in Lincoln, Nebraska on Friday. That's pretty cool. I think Matt Rule and his staff and everybody involved that were able to pull this thing together, this is kind of unique and cool. I've said for the last few years how stale Friday Night Lights is. You don't have the same amount of talent. Everybody has camps like this now. It's not what it used to be in its early years under Mike Riley and maybe even the first year with Scott Frost. This was a good pivot to something that Nebraska can call its own. And then you get to slap the Adidas logo on there, which is another big reason a lot of these guys are going to be coming out, because their 7-on-7 teams are already sponsored by Adidas. Sure. Adidas wants to get in the game of knowing who the top players are before they even get to college. So that way, when the NIL offers can start flying around and they can identify the next Dylan Raiola or whoever else. And then that person goes from college to the NFL. You don't have the mad scramble to try to line up endorsement deals. So there's something in this for everybody. And for Nebraska fans, for people who don't have anything going on next Friday, they have the opportunity to head over to the stadium. It's free. I'm told concessions are going to be available. I mean, it should be a good atmosphere next week, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this all goes. And I give a lot of credit to Nebraska for putting something like this together.
It is amazing they were able to put this together. But and I hate to tamper down your enthusiasm and your business. I hate this time of year because this time of the year is 7-on-7. It is camps. It is OTAs in the NFL. And I'm an old school guy that it's different when you put on the pads and you get hit. But with that said, this is a vitally important time, and it's an opportunity to have that amount of prospects on your campus to evaluate them, and they don't put on pads and play a game. So what is, and maybe I ask you this every year, what is the proper way to evaluate a prospect?
Oh, nice.
Like a Trey Taylor in a 7-on-7 battle at the Boneyard playing on his team. What's the proper way to assess that you think colleges go, yep, that guy can play on a Friday night when he's getting hit, or there's a rush as a place kicker, or you know what, we put the pads on?
Yeah, I think your points are all valid. I mean, I don't know that anyone going next weekend should be looking at this and thinking that they're going to unearth a gem because they're watching 7-on-7, or that they know exactly what this player is going to be because he's playing in shorts and a t-shirt and he's not playing in full pads and a helmet. But I think the biggest thing you can kind of take away is who's competitive, who can go out there and make plays, who, when their team is trying to win, can go make an important throw or make the catch or make the pass deflection or what have you. I mean, I think you can watch competitive nature play out. For Nebraska, I don't know how much of this is evaluation based versus, hey, we have an opportunity to get a bunch of these guys on campus. You know what they're going to do all day? They're going to spend their time in our brand new facilities. They're going to spend their time at our training table, and they're going to be walking around Lincoln. And this is going to be an opportunity for us to get a collection of talent, unlike any visit weekend that we put together previously, and get them all here in a competitive environment. Here's the other thing we're going to do. We're going to get people out here to watch them play. We're going to put it in our stadium. We're going to get them thinking in their brains, hey, this is kind of cool. You got, however many people showing up for this 7-on-7. This stadium's kind of interesting. I don't know if it has its red end zones yet that some people hate and some people love, and some people are like, it's an end zone. Why do we care so much? Just as long as Nebraska gets in there in the fall. I'm in that category myself. But the important thing here is that Nebraska's getting these guys on campus. Like, they're getting an opportunity, and maybe they never get them on campus again, right? They're not going to land all of these people as commitments in the 26, 27, 28 classes. But what you could do is you get somebody on campus now, and maybe he goes somewhere else. Maybe he goes to Georgia, and it doesn't work out at Georgia, and he's back in the portal. And Nebraska sees that, and they offer him, and he thinks, I was there to Nebraska one time. That seems like a pretty cool place. He had the frame of reference to work on that isn't Nebraska. They have a football field around a cornfield there. So I think a lot of it is just providing perspective to future student athletes that maybe end up playing for you, maybe end up in the transfer portal, maybe you recruit really hard, maybe you never see it again, but you're at least changing the perspective and the feeling on what Nebraska is. And I think that's more valuable than any immediate evaluation. Nebraska is also going to be doing testing. They're going to get testing numbers. They're going to have the opportunity to get accurate heights and weights. And as dumb as it sounds, some of that information is like the whole point of a camp, is to see if a guy who lists himself as 6'5" is 6'5", or if he's really 6'3.5. To see if a guy who claims he's 215 pounds is 215 pounds, or if he's 198. So some of the value from the football perspective is just having accurate information and being able to put your eyes on it and see how they move and see how they react and see who wants to compete and see who's just sitting in the corner, not really giving a, you know what. So I think there's a lot of value there that has nothing to do with how the football comes out of a guy's hand or anything like that, or even pads. A lot of it is just getting them on campus, getting some information, building relationships, starting relationships, continuing relationships.
So you kind of touched on it, Mike. Matt Rule has kind of said in the past that it's like, all right, we're going to recruit these people, and if they don't end up coming to Nebraska, that's fine, but at least they're going to tell everybody else around them that, hey, they were impressed with what they saw at Nebraska. Is there another blue blood or another program that invests as much as Nebraska does that has to fight a battle like that?
No. There's no other program that recruits nationally from the middle of the country the way that Nebraska has to, that doesn't have more access to talent. I don't mean this. These programs have been better than Nebraska in recent years. Sure. Iowa doesn't recruit like Nebraska. Kansas State doesn't recruit like Nebraska. Oklahoma does, but they're right next to Texas, and Oklahoma's been better. And, they're able to recruit nationally in a way that Nebraska wants to, but Oklahoma's had a lot more success, and they can dip into Texas in a way that Nebraska really can't. And so I just think I think Nebraska athletics in a lot of ways is a 1-to-1. It's hard to compare Nebraska programs for a variety of different reasons to their brethren around the country. And I think football really stands out in that regard. Think about all the other blue bloods. They're all in population centers. They're all places where, you're going to have access to better talent, or, your Penn State, your Ohio State, maybe your local talent, which is still better than state of Nebraska, but it's still, you're producing more players. You have better chances of getting higher end athletes, but they still have the ability to nationally go recruit, or you're right there connected to these other states in a way that Nebraska is. So I think Nebraska has to invest more. They have to battle this in a way that, other places don't. And it always makes me laugh because you hear these kids talk about Lincoln, Nebraska, like they think they're going to find, some place just in a cornfield or that's just going to be barren and there's nothing around it. In their next breath, they're telling you about how they were in Starkville the week before or, some other outpost in college football. And they don't think of it like that. But the connotation of Nebraska when you're really little and you've never been here, you just think corn. You don't think about anything else. You think rural. And I think being able to expose Lincoln to a lot of different recruits is as valuable as anything else, too.
How many prospects, let's say in the last 5 years, have you talked to that had an interest from Nebraska that brought up that it's a rural area?
I don't know that there's a definitive number, but I think it's probably close to 3/4. I mean, let's characterize this as guys out of the area. Is that fair?
Yeah.
I mean, take out the surrounding states. And we're talking about people that are coming up from Texas, which again, like you'll have guys that are in a 2,000 person community in Texas and say that they were shocked that Lincoln is as urban as it is, as if Wikipedia doesn't exist and you can't see that there's 300,000 people that live in Lincoln, Nebraska. So it's just one of those, perceptions that exist out there that they have to fight against. And one of the ways that you can do it is just to bring people who are going to go back, like Matt said, and talk to their teammates. And like, man, you would not believe the facilities in Lincoln, the people, the food, like all of it. And so I just think word of mouth is huge. He's now at Florida State and probably trying to do the same thing. But Tony White was really big on the idea that you sell the recruit that you're recruiting with the idea that he's going to go talk to his teammates. And maybe you don't end up with that guy, but you might end up with a teammate who is intrigued by what he heard. And I think that's a big part of, if you're at Nebraska, that has to kind of be a mentality when you recruit. You might not always get the guy right in front of you, but you want to leave a strong enough impression that he's telling everybody else, like, hey, man, I know I'm going to Alabama, but they got something in Nebraska. They have something there. And that's going to keep people interested.
It'll be it's going to be a great event. You're right. The logistics that go into it and the moving parts on who may or may not be here is fascinating. But Nebraska is ahead of the curve with everybody else. But the other thing you added that I think is key is that Adidas is behind this as well. Shafe, we appreciate it. Enjoy the baseball this weekend and the warm weather and the golf course.
No, I guys have that's a trifecta of what I got going on this weekend. Going to try to avoid work as much as possible. So if the recruits could hold off until committing until like Sunday, that would be ideal.
You know what? For you, I think they would.
Yeah, just give them a call.
I don't mean to be glib here, but I'm not overly worried that Nebraska is getting a surprise commitment this weekend, which is probably famous last word.
Hey, do they have to sign? Does Archie Wilson have to sign anything to be part of the program? The punter?
That I don't know. I mean, because we're just making up the rules to college football as we go along here in 2025, it's hard to even know, like, whether a new addition counts towards a future 105, counts towards the current number, what the current number is. I mean, it's just as per usual, it is a stupid mess because people can't seem to stay out of their own way to allow things to just happen, or to put in a phase period for things to happen. It all has to be immediate, and then we just have to pick up the pieces as we go along. So I can't say as to what degree he counts towards or what he has to sign. The expectation is that they'll be adding him this summer. And again, Nebraska works with a great compliance department, so I imagine they have all their I's dotted, their T's crossed, and they'll be good to go there.
I appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
All right, guys. Have a good one. Thanks for having me on.
Mike Schaefer from Husker 24/7. Battle at the Boneyard.
I'll be there.
I hate this time of the year.
Why? Well, I know why.
It's necessary. Schaefer laid out all the advantages, but I like game film. I like what your grades are. Talk to your coaches, your teachers.
Yeah.
They're like, I chuckle at place kickers that put up videos of them hitting 60 and 65-yard field goals.
Put the pads on.
You don't have to put the pads on. How about a rush?
Yeah.
Things get a little bit different when there's a rush. Hey, what's the famous Mike Tyson quote?
Everybody's got a plan until you get hit in the face.
On a Friday night when you get hit,
life advice.
Things change a little bit.
Well, what did we say about Connor Culp? He was great until there was fans in the stadium. Well, I'm pretty sure you're not going to be playing in front of an empty stadium every week.
Now, this isn't just a quarterback or place kicker thing. I think this is all positions where it's difficult to evaluate out of their regular season.
I agree.
All right, Matt Verzal, huge 7-on-7 fan. I mean, mammoth 7-on-7 fan.
Isn't he a 7-on-7 coach? I'm kidding.
Ask him that.
No,
ask him
absolutely
that.
not.
Yeah, please do.
Please do.
Then that's where he works.
John chimes in one quick email here before the break in the Equitable Bank inbox. Recruits think that Nebraska is just a stadium and a cornfield because the networks push that image during virtually every game. And kids are morons.
Well, we are.
And that they are too lazy to do a little research. Nebraska's made a very concerted effort with their television partners to show them the Haymarket and other places. So you do not see as much B-roll that shows the rural, hey, look at what's right down. That's O Street. Oh, my God. There's corn on either side of O Street.
Show the Atmosphere building. Show the Atmosphere building.
Hollywood Pier, Santa Monica
Show the
Pier.
U.S. Bank building.
Lincoln, Nebraska.
So this is couple of previous regimes in the athletic department. They got livid with ABC.
Because they were just showing cornfields
Well,
all day?
because they would make it look like it was a rural setting. And they would go like outside of town.
Yeah.
And they would show like a pumpkin patch. And they're like, yeah, but that's not in proper Lincoln.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was like a heated phone call. It might have been Moose.
That's awesome.
Moose might have been the one that initiated the phone call.
You want to see cornfields, go to Champaign. That's where the cornfields are at.
That is true. We've got Verse coming up next. And I would imagine, I'm just going to tell him this is what he's doing at Pisons, that ESPN Plus will be carried on the screen so you can watch some Nebraska baseball this afternoon while you're enjoying a slice and a beer at Pisons. Good morning.
Morning. How we doing, boys?
Good. How are you?
I am doing well.
Good.
Thus far. We are early in the day, so.
How are we feeling about the trip to Chapel Hill?
You know, if the fellas can pitch the way that they pitch in the Big Ten tournament, I have a revolutionary methodology for Nebraska baseball when you hate to look ahead, but when the season starts next year. But I would tell the boys when we're heading to play these conference tournaments that, or the conference series, that we're going to play a tournament. So I would sell out to it. I would say, if we just use Nebraska as an example. Okay?
Yeah.
So you got, hey, fellas, we're going to play the Nebraska Huskers day 1. Then we're going to play the Nebraska Rattlesnake Boys day 2. And we're going to play the Nebraska Cornhuskers day 3. So they think it's 3 different teams, because when you get them in a tournament setting, they play completely different brand of baseball. So I would tell them every 3-game series, air quote, they were going to play as a tournament and see what happens. Because the way that they, after, thank you to the right fielder from Michigan State, but after that, they realized there are no more lifelines. And so they took advantage of it. Shout out to the pitching. It was great. Ty Horn dealing. Shout out to the staff at the end of the 7th when Ty was walking off the field and he just looked in the dugout and just put up one finger and said, "One more." And they trusted him. So that was cool to see. But, you know, they put it together. Mr. May is doing his thing.
Yeah.
Swanson's just hitting the ball, and it's fun to see him play well. And it's fun to see him have fun. So you got a chance, man. You got a chip in a chair. That's all you really need. Who knows the way it's going to go.
How big of an advantage, this game has been playing with their backs against the proverbial wall for the last 6 weeks now, because we were getting to the point where, man, they got to fight to make the Big Ten tournament, let alone the NCAA tournament. Do you think that's an advantage, Matt, that they have been in some of these situations before where it's kind of now, hey, we've been doing this for a while when you get to the NCAA tournament?
I think it's something where, you know, it doesn't create the pressure that others may have. Now, I don't think baseball feels a lot of pressure, because baseball of all sports, as far as like the youth upbringing of it, is like, don't worry, we have another game. And so the finality of it, I don't think they ever fully grasp. But yeah, I mean, they're used to it. They've been fighting for their life for a month and a half. So just all you got to do is keep fighting.
Have they gotten close to what you think they could be? Or are they just, they are what they are and they've gotten hot at the right time? They won 5 in a row. Or is there another, will we see something different in Chapel Hill that we've yet to see?
I don't think you need to see anything different. I think if you see the team that won the Big Ten, that, you know, outside of some trepidatious innings where the error bug kind of came up, they played really solid defense. They hit the ball, and they played smart. You know, when they needed to have a ground ball to first base to move somebody at second to third, they were able to do that. When they needed, you know, a big hit, Robbie Bolin, who I think is a real unsung guy. Hopefully his injury is not very much. But, you know, he's a guy that's just he loves baseball. And it's fun to see, you know, the kid. I sit out in the outfield. I don't sit by people because I like to cuss and swear and all those things. And some people find that off-putting. You know, a couple WTFs, are you thinking there? And so I just sit by myself. But being that, you know, he's in the outfield and you can hear him every play. He's chattering and he's looking at the scoreboard to see where the pitch was. And he's just a positive kid. And you can tell he just loves baseball. And so that's cool because I love baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And so to watch him do his thing is fun. He's had 2 game winners. You know, they had guys just doing what they're supposed to do when you were down one, you weren't trying to hit a 4-run home run. You were just putting the ball in play to get it passed on to the next guy. Now, if your pitch came to you, then you deposit it, but you weren't trying to do too much.
Matt, I think Will Bold is kind of fascinating in terms of some of the opinions that people have on him because he's made 3 NCAA tournaments. And in my eyes, you make 3 NCAA tournaments at a time he's made them. You're a good coach, period, end of story. But people would then say, well, it's been back-to-back years where they had to win the tournament and maybe they didn't really reach expectations this year. There are some spots for criticism for him. In your opinion, should people just can it, or do you think there is some room to criticize some of maybe the mistakes that have been made over the last couple of years, despite the fact they made the playoffs?
I mean, you're walking a high wire.
Yeah, I agree.
You're establishing a narrative that if one 20-plus-year-old outfielder catches a baseball, they are pitchfork and torch. Right? There's no more discussion of it. Like, that kid makes that catch, and you got people calling for his head. Let's just be honest with ourselves.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to live that way, good on you. You know how I like to live? Winning like 35 games and losing 10. That's a good life right there. So, I think all coaches in all sports in every level, you're always, except youth, they're always consistently evolving into making themselves better so you don't put yourself in that position. I think Bolton staff are the same way. They're just that's a heart attack. Like, go in the comments of Nebraska baseball and look at it for the regular season.
Yeah.
Like, those things don't turn positive till the tournament. So if you want to live that way, more power to you. I'm a front runner. I love winning. And so if I can win a whole bunch and lose a whole little, my life becomes a lot less stressful.
Amen.
Hey, I'm not sure if your invitation to the Battle at the Boneyard has arrived yet. You haven't changed your opinion on 7-on-7, have you?
Dumbest thing in the world.
Didn't think so.
Provides no value except that you can play catch better than everybody else. You're the best catch player ever.
No value? None. Not even like he looks a little bit more athletic than I anticipated. Any measurables or anything like that? Like, how do you? Here's my question. How do you balance the athleticism aspect and the actual football aspect when evaluating a player?
How do you get better as a team? You take half your team and go do something else and tell the other half they're not worth your time.
Good point.
You tell me that, and I'll say it again. Good luck winning a game without an offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck winning a game without a defensive line. And I think it develops terrible habits. Quarterbacks stand back there for too long. They don't understand how to maneuver. It's pointless.
Hey, so
it's a money grab.
So, and you have been consistent on this for the longest time. And we have the locker room camp, which is going on here in Omaha today. How many camps, though, are going on where they say, hey, bring the pads. We're going to put on the pads. Those are getting fewer and fewer, right? Yeah.
No, this is a man's game, man. You can watch the NFL and watch it trickle. I was that team that won the Super Bowl this year at running the foosball. They're pretty goddamn good at it, yeah. And I watch everybody else try to mirror that. Mm-hmm. It'll get back to nasty. It'll get back to physical. And you know what? It alleviates a lot of your locker room drama because you create prima donna. When the portal opens up, who are the movers? See a lot of linemen move until they're old, right? Mm-hmm. The linemen will move, but they're old. Like, yeah, this young kid behind me is pretty good. I don't want to be the starter and then get beat out by a young guy. Not run away from competition. I've just been here for 5 years. I'm going to go try something else. Receiver gone the next day. You disrespected me. You don't give me the ball enough. Your quarterback can't blah, 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 blah. They don't teach us selfish. Yeah. 7-on-7 teaches selfish. And the thing I hate the most about it is when you go make a play in 7-on-7 that you should make, but then you gotta taunt the dude. You gotta put your sword in your sheath, and you gotta do some dumbass dance because you caught a ball in the end zone. You don't understand your job.
Yeah.
You don't understand that's what you're there to do. And then I get super disappointed in the adults that are there because they don't correct it. You got Cam Newton getting jumped at some dumbass 7-on-7 thing. Like, we think this is good, healthy competition. It's the dumbest thing in the world. The dumbest.
And which, by the way, he may be in town next week with his 7-on-7 team.
Yep, that'd be cool. That'd be cool for everybody to see Cam Newton. Guys, athletic freak. I mean, what a unit that guy is. But
hey,
here's your trophy for being the best player of catch. Good job.
Hey, Matt, the one thing I can't stand more than like I'm in the I'm fine with 7-on-7. I don't have a strong opinion on it. But what I dislike greatly about 7-on-7 is like the over celebrations and the over trash talking and just the fact that these young, athletes are basically allowed to do and say and act however the hell they want. And it's not even that the coaches are just ambiguous to it. They encourage it. Like they prop it up. They think it's cool. I don't think it's cool at all. And I think, like you kind of mentioned before, it creates bad habits. Why do you think 7-on-7 coaches are propping it up? Why do you think they do think it's good for the game or good for the kid?
Because they're insecure. They never accomplished anything. Or they thought, you look at half those now. The guys are getting it from the NFL, like they're teaching real lessons.
Sure.
Like they're doing it correctly. 90% of the schmucks that start these teams are the guy you ask them, hey, how'd your career go? Oh, man, I was so good. I should have made it to the league, but this coach hated me and blah, 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 blah. So they're just living vicariously through the kid. That's why they let him do that. I wanted to celebrate like that, but my hard-ass coach wouldn't let me do that. The thing that pisses me off the most is they take a we game.
Yeah.
The only game that prepares you for life. Okay? Because you need everybody to succeed in your life. And if you don't believe that, you are a moron. They take a we game and make it a me game. That can't happen. It's a we game. We will succeed together. It's not a me game. Look at what I did.
Preach, brother. As always, I appreciate it. We'll see you. We'll see you this weekend. By the way.
Yeah, I'll have the game on. I got to run to Lincoln. I'm in uncle mode. I got to maintain my 20-year reign as uncle of the year. So I got to run do something for the catch man tonight. So
nicely done.
Love it.
Well, that'll be great for people to come in and watch the ball game. Thanks, Vers.
Thanks, Matt.
See you, boys.
Yeah.
I want to say this. I'm not saying that.
I know. Got me tearing up over here. It was good stuff.
I'm not saying that every 7-on-7 coach is like that is propping those, is allowing those bad habits to happen. I'm sure there are great 7-on-7 coaches who do coach these guys in a certain way. Okay. So I don't want to disparage all of them, but way too often on Twitter, I see some of these athletes just acting like just idiots, just acting rude, just being not good humans. And what is happening? These coaches on the sidelines are like waving the flag and jumping up and down and saying, yeah, you're the man and this and that. Like, that's how we create athletes who are super talented that get in their own head that don't end up being successful. That's exactly how we do it. We encourage some immature, unsportsmanlike attitudes and actions. We shouldn't be doing that.
Spring football in Nebraska. That was one of when I proposed that with Michigan Lance. We were going to put a plan together. They're like, 7-on-7, better evaluation. Here's what we should do. We need to get Abdul Muhammad, who is a big 7-on-7 guy, and Matt Verzal, not a big 7-on-7 guy, two former teammates. They have much differing opinions on 7-on-7. But a couple years ago, two of the most prominent high school programs in the area that dominate Class A, players and coaches hollering at each other. I was like, wow, I'm glad I brought my popcorn. But the locker room camp is where I would evaluate more that's going on currently this morning here in Omaha.
Yeah. I like attitude. I just don't like it when we're being, immature, like just not nice people, like just being straight up rude all the time.
All right, we'll put a wrap on the week when we return. It's Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone.
We have come to the end of a short week. It's a short week it's a 4-day week that this still feels like a Friday.
Because it is a Friday.
It is a Friday, but it still feels like we've worked like the full week, the full 5 days, and here we are. And we're feeling great. I'm feeling great. I'm so excited tonight where I'm going to go and watch an A-list comedian perform at the CHI Health Center in Shane Gillis. Someone who's not having a great week is a certain friend of the SEC program of Paul Feinbaum show from Alaska. Okay. I don't know what type of radio.
The guy from Alaska is not having a great week.
I don't. Oh, he's not.
Because Paul's in Destin. So, if you're in Destin, you're automatically having a great week. So, okay.
I don't know what type of radio you grew up with either of you grew up with, but I grew up with pure call-in radio. Just pure, hey, tell us what you want, 15 callers a show. And yesterday, while scrolling on Twitter, my friend Paul Feinbaum posted what might be, I think, the greatest sports call of all time. Jimmy, we have the call.
We do.
Can you please play it?
It's been sent just to us.
I don't feel real.
Oh my God.
Experiencing some
Stop.
To be honest,
Stop. We can't play it. That dang room.
Would the other one work?
Try the other one. Try the other one. It should. When you play it off the speaker.
What is it with these people's phones?
When you play it off the studio speaker, it sounded fine. That's whatever. The sound card is all broken now. Great. That's a whole segment that goes down the drain. Jeez, man.
Could you reenact it? Kind of like how North Dakota State's going to broadcast
baseball.
They give me
one segment. You give me one segment to do. Hey, Matt, this is your segment. Go ahead, lead it in, do your thing, be a broadcaster, and that happens. Gary, take it away.
It's not your fault.
It's not.
It's not your fault.
It's not.
I literally played it off the studio speakers, and it sounded perfectly fine.
It's okay. I know. If it makes you feel better, it gets worse.
I'm going to have to restart that computer, and hopefully it'll work for take 5, which will be riveting today.
In like a minute, can you summarize what we would have heard?
Oh, sure. Go. I will.
Paul.
I think his name is Jeffrey from Alaska. He called into the Paul Feinbaum show and made it very clear. He goes, I don't follow sports, but I'm at a Buffalo Wild Wings right now, and I just saw your show was on, so I thought I'd call in. Paul goes, okay, what's up? He's like, I'm going through some marriage problems. My wife's mother is a promiscuous woman. She likes touching me a little bit too long and puts her hands on my shoulders. The hugs are too long. And I don't really appreciate that. And I'm a Christian man. That's what he said. I'm a Christian man. And I told my wife I don't appreciate her mother's advances. And so, one day the mom invited me to go and move and help move out. And I said that I didn't want to go, but my wife made me go, and it was just me and my wife's mother. And then the quote was, and then push came to shove, and I slept with her. So the guy ended up sleeping.
Let's bring her out. Here's Lexus
with his wife's mother. And then he was asked, how long have you been married? And he goes, 25 weeks, which I've never heard of that before. Counting your marriage as you count babies.
Weeks? That's a lot of math.
I mean, you can remember.
Yeah.
So you've been married for essentially 5 months, 6 months.
Remember, that was the thing back.
I believe this weekend's my
school.
676th week anniversary.
It was the most annoying thing ever. Everyone had a month anniversary in high school relationships, and they would post it on their Snapchat stories. Happy 2 months. Happy 5 months.
They
happy
broke
9
up
months.
next week.
None of those. Every high school relationship that I ever knew, none of them lasted. Every single one of them broke up. No high school sweethearts.
156 months is
from where I grew up. 0.
So you have. I just because I'm not as optimistic as you are with the baseball this weekend.
Sure.
I think both Nebraska and Creighton get to Sunday. I don't think they get past Sunday. Hope to be wrong. So I like your idea, though, that we'll have doubleheader baseball on Monday, which would mean would be winner take all game.
I think that both of them happening, definitely low percentage chance. But I would go out on a limb and say I do think that both of them could end up there. And I am confident in the fact that both of them will end up playing the number 1 seed in order to go to the Super Regional. I'm very confident though that at least one of them gets to Monday. At least one of them gets to a game 7, and at least one of them is one game away from playing in the regional,
That'll be the
super
Knicks.
regional. And when you get to Monday, and you've exhausted all your arms, both teams have, in order to get to that point, you never know what can happen. So I'm pretty confident that at least one of them gets to Monday.
I'll say Nebraska's 2-2, Creighton's 1-2.
I think that's a fair prediction. I think that's really fair because you know what, Kansas is really good. Now,
That's right.
Creighton's got an ace in Dom Cancelleri, and they got a really good bullpen. It's just, what do you do after that? And I would say that if we're weighing the importance of whose game 1 is more important for the team's success throughout the NCAA tournament, I think that it's way more important that Creighton wins their first game than Nebraska winning their first game.
I just say win all the games.
What?
I just saw Nebraska's non-conference schedule for men's basketball.
Are you vomiting because it's tough, or you're vomiting because it's bad?
West Georgia, South Carolina Upstate, Winthrop, FIU, Maryland Eastern Shore, North Dakota,
Delaware
New Hampshire.
School for the Blind.
At least Oklahoma,
I was about to say,
at least Oklahoma,
Mary College for
Oklahoma, Creighton, and the Hall of Fame Classic are on there. So it's kind of like last year's non-con.
So it's 1.5 really tough games.
And their best game is an exhibition game against BYU.
I'll be good.
So Oklahoma just has replaced St. Mary's essentially.
Yeah, I mean it's built like it was last year.
Fine by it. Cool with it.
No Omaha. Omaha can't find any games. Omaha made
frustrating and a compliment.
Omaha made an offer to the Mountain West Conference, to a team in the Mountain West Conference. I will withhold their name, and it was going to start at Baxter, and then next year Omaha would go out there for free because usually it would be a significant buy game, and they turned them down.
They don't want that smoke.
They don't want to see Cam Thomas. That's why.
Want to see Durant.
And they're struggling. They're struggling to find some games.
How many? I mean, if you can't reveal it, you can't reveal it. But like, is there a number of games that they currently have to fill that they haven't filled yet?
They got to fill 13. The Summit League takes care of one of them or two of them.
Okay.
So it's been tough.
Wow.
All right. Well, hey, at least at the Oscars last night, Chris Crutchfield and the men's basketball team won something. I mean, at least we'll have something to be excited about. Congratulations to Anna Bellinghausen,
yes,
who won the Steve Pivovar Media Award. She's the first female nominated and won, deserved.
Absolutely.
And Omaha alum, Omaha athlete. So she won last night. Our very own John Bishop was nominated. We got to do something though. So now we're 0 for 4 in this building. Myself, Damon, Nick Baugh, and now Bish have all been nominated.
It's all on you, Matt. You're it.
Yeah,
so they put on the Omaha Sports Commission does a great job. It's a great event, and there were some Antrell Taylor got honored last night. Kirsten Bernthal Booth was honored last night. It's a great event, and they include the media. But man, we got to break this streak. We're 0 for 4. Let's get a nice meal.
I don't know why you're looking over
here. You get to dress up.
The whole room is looking over here, guys. I got some work to do.
All right.
I gotta build some credit.
Enjoy the weekend, everybody, because when we come back, we will be into Applebee's month.
What does that mean?
They're about they got the all-you-can-eat chicken tenders are coming to Applebee's. So if you have vacation in the next week, it coincides. It's like something was meant to be. You're off for a week, and you've got all-you-can-eat chicken tenders at Applebee's.
Like I
there
say,
are some good things that go on in the world.
Green Day says, "Wake me up when September ends." I say, "Wake me up when Lobster Fest begins." Love Lobster Fest.
Is that going on at Red Lobster?
Do we still have it?
Yeah,
okay.
Lobster Fest at Red Lobster. You guys it is like the greatest time of the year.
Red Lobster is garbage.
That's your opinion? Then you can have it.
I've lived in a place where I could go and reach into the water and grab what I'm going to eat.
And I haven't, okay? I've lived in landlocked states my entire life. We're getting lobsters a privilege.
Next to Lake Michigan.
Hey, but
lobsters in Lake Michigan?
Those biscuits are pretty damn good.
Yeah, cheddar, baby.
All right. Have a good weekend, everybody. Make memories, be safe, live, laugh, punt. Enjoy the baseball, which you'll hear tonight with Connor and Glenn Sisk from Bomb for Nebraska. Nebraska's in Chapel Hill. Happer's not doing the Nebraska game. At least I don't know. Maybe we'll find out next week.
We'll find out.
No, we won't. But Creighton and KU tonight here on the Zone. We'll talk to you on Monday at 6. Crossovers coming up next.